Chapter 161. The Difficult Bakuten Explosion-Style Ninja. In the jungle, the strange rocks are rugged, and the atmosphere is dull. Watching Namikaze Minato lead people away, Iwagakure village Kari couldn't sit still. Doden Earth-Style Earth and Rock Flow. Hunter pressed his palm on the ground, and the ground burst, shattered into countless fine sand, and rolled forward. Gongyi instructed Namikaze Minato to leave quickly, turned around and slapped the ground with his palm. Doden Earth-Style rips the earth and turns his palms. The earth cracks open in a cobweb-like manner, heading towards the Iwagakure force. Wherever he passed, the ravine exploded. Fine sand rolled forward, and the abyss and ravines covered the dense forest. Huge amount of fine sand poured into the gully, filled it up, rushed to the next place, but was intercepted by a deeper gully. Gongyi stood up, sneered, and hand-sealed with one hand. A sea of flames emerged in the air with an unrivaled attitude. Hunter didn't expect that Gongyi released his ninjutsu so quickly, for a while. A little bit too late to react. But he still has more than 30 players here. Doden Earth-Style 10,000-mile earth wall. A huge earth wall that lifts the trees on the ground and rises. It's 3,220 inches. Height can enter the cloud, and its width is hundreds of meters. He blocked the sea of fire abruptly. Gongyi frowned. He had to deal with the more than 30 Iwagakure ninjas first. The 8 inner gates, the 6 gates opened instantly. Green rays of light shone out from under the black robe. He moved, like a vigorous beast. He jumped into the crowd, and he was about to kill. However, Hunter stood in front of him and threw a punch without evasion. Then Teishu Gongyi sneered in his heart. Even the future 4 generations of Reikage are not as strong as their own Teishu. Fists bombarded, and a huge sound erupted, as if something had been blown up. Gongyi flew out upside down, bleeding from the corner of his mouth, and his left hand hung down weakly. Ugly, Gongyi's face is extremely ugly now. This is Bakuten explosion style. Hunter smiled grimly. Boy, you're still too tender. Now your left hand was broken by my explosion. I see how you can hand seal with one hand. Come on, kill him. Kill. More than 30 ninjas rushed up together. In the understanding of all ninjas, the release of ninjutsu requires both hands and a hand seal. Once one hand is abolished, the combat power is close to zero. Even if he is a master of physique, if he loses a hand, his strength will be greatly damaged. However, when he sees more than 30 people rushing over, the corner of Gongyi's mouth rises slightly. Namikaze Minato had reminded him just now that this person is good at Bakuten explosion style. How could he not be on guard? But he still went ahead and fought against Hunter as if he didn't know it. Exchange. It seemed that the hand was abolished by Bakuten explosion style, but in fact, it created a situation where more than 30 ninjas rushed forward in one go. As for what to do next, Gongyi's eyes narrowed slightly, his black robe fluttered, and a ball of golden light suddenly exploded. The blazing light made the more than 30 ninjas unable to help but froze. Their eyes were a little dazzled. Right at this moment, the golden light suddenly transformed, and countless threads spewed forward, like a laser, waving and cutting frantically. Shoo 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 shoo. The golden light retracted again. Gongyi looked at the scene in front of him indifferently. More than 30 ninjas were cut into countless pieces as if they were hit by a big truck. The scene was horrific and disgusting. Sho looked at this scene in a daze, as if he couldn't believe it. The elite little boy he brought out with one hand. In this way, being destroyed in an instant as Gongyi's third use of Jin-dun. In addition to the 10 Jin-dun Kunwu, solidified Jin-dun long swords, another kind. Turning the golden chakra into a very thin chakra thread, it has a myriad of illusions, and its cutting characteristics and killing range almost reach the ultimate. Is similar to the chakra thread that Chiyo is good at, but it is even more powerful because of the characteristics of Jin-dun chakra. Ah, I'm going to kill you. Sho was furious, stomped on the ground with a ruthless foot, and made a loud noise. and then charged towards Gong Yi like a bomb. In short-distance acceleration, the speed is not weaker than Gong Yi's physical skills. Gong Yi took a deep breath. This blood follower ninja is not easy to solve. The golden thread moves again, densely surrounded by the hunter. Soon, it will be wrapped in it. However, after one cut, there was a continuous burst of noise, and it was impossible to hunt. Gong Yi stepped back, his brows furrowed even more tightly. No wonder Namikaze Minato says this guy is not easy to deal with. He has applied Bakuden explosion style to ultimate. Bakuden explosion style accelerates the body. Bakuden explosion style chakra condenses around the body, and when the gold wire is cut, the Bakuden explosion style chakra will blow the gold wire into pieces. In the short contact time just now, Gong Yi's Jindun chakra actually lost more than half of it. Conceivable that Namikaze Minato assassinated with Hiraishin at close range, and the hunter did not have to dodge at all, but directly greeted by Bakuden explosion style. Even Yellow Flash can't kill me, how can you, kid? Oh, I can't stand it, but I killed 30 of your 30 subordinates in front of you. Ah, looking for death, I'm going to kill you. Bakuden explosion style Mind Fist. Gong Yi was in the air, unable to hide, bit Kiba and picked it up with his right hand. A group of golden chakras lingered in his hands, forming a special protection. Under the golden chakra, there is also a layer of khaki-colored rock armor for defense. Not only that, Gong Yi even came out with a Rasengan. Boom! The two sides were repelled by the recoil again and flew out backwards. Gong Yi shook his hand, let out a long sigh, and looked at the man opposite. The fierce-looking man with a bad face. Sho frowned and looked over. On his right hand, there was a spiral blood pattern. Just when he and Gong Yi were fighting, the Bakuden explosion style chakra was about to explode, but he was hit by a spiral chakra. Deviated from the direction, and was finally defended by Gong Yi's Jindun chakra. So strong, you shouldn't be a nobody. Especially your golden ninjutsu, I seem to have heard it somewhere. Gong Yi's right hand spread out again, and the Attributalis Rasengan spun out violently. If you want to fight, fight, how can there be so much nonsense? Arrogant. Bakuden explosion style Thunderbolt. The two met again, and on the scene, there was actually a back and forth. Bakuden explosion style's high damage at close range makes Gong Yi terrified. And when Gong Yi condensed into a long sword of golden escape, that kind of sharpness also made the hunter cry endlessly. It's just that one needs to stop the other party, the other needs to kill the other party, and no one will back down. For a while, the battle stalemate down. Shinwu Kunchao, 5,000 meters behind. A 3,000-strong ninja army is moving fast. Suddenly, 10 kunai flew out of the jungle, killing 10 ninjas who were caught off guard at extremely fast speed. Who is it? Flash of gold, Namikaze Minato appeared in front of the troops with a slight smile. Everyone, stop here. Hiss. Seeing Namikaze Minato, a lot of ninjas were scared back. The name of Yellow Flash, but accumulated with bloody battle after battle. Especially in this war between Iwagakure and Konoha, Konoha is at a disadvantage in military force, but as long as there is a fighting circle where Yellow Flash is, basically he has never lost. In addition to Konoha, other countries, big and small, have even issued, when you meet Yellow Flash, you can give up the task, and 1. 6 not being punished. Command. Of course, before this, there was a person who shared this honor with Yellow Flash, but that man disappeared after being seriously injured. Retire what? He has only one person, and we have 3,000 people. Kill him and go to the front to support Tsuchikage-sama. Yes, kill him. Kill. Namikaze Minato slowly put away his smile, his face became extremely solemn. With a pair of 3,000, he couldn't retreat. Looking back at the bridge, Namikaze Minato suddenly moved and disappeared into the air. The next moment, he had appeared in front of the ninja he had killed before, and with one hand, he threw a dozen detonating charms directly into the crowd, then turned around and left as Hiraishin. Boom, 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 the explosion sounded, and Namikaze Minato sighed. Not many materials, there are only a dozen or so detonating charms, and then, it is all up to you. I hope Kakashi and the others will blow up the Kamukun Bridge as soon as possible. Chapter 162. Uchiha Madara. Open black lens bracket close black lens bracket. Boom. A loud bang, setting off boundless airwaves. The airwaves spread from the inside to the outside, and wherever they passed, the scenery was destroyed. Boulders and trees, as weak as dry grass, were smashed to pieces by the wind. Gong Yi ran out of the turbulence in embarrassment, with lingering fears in his heart. This was the first time he had fought against the strong Kekkei Jinkei who was at the peak of his prime. The 3 generations of Mizukage were not counted, he was already old. Terumi-Mei is only playing against him, and Terumi-Mei is in the growth stage. At the age of Hunter, he has reached the limit for the control of Blood-Ji ninjutsu, Bakuden explosion style ninjutsu in his hands, can be called superb. It's just a pity that in the end it was grinded to death by Gong Yi. 2 fought for an hour, Gong Yi discovered several shortcomings of hunting. Bakuden explosion style accelerates the body, it can only be accelerated in a short distance in a straight line, but it is very fast, but it is not flexible enough. Another point is that although Hunter can attach Bakuden explosion style chakra to the body, blocking the enemy's close body attack. But when the chakra exploded, the damage to him was also great. Taking advantage of these 2 points, Gong Yi didn't. And then confronted Sho head-on, but chose to fight with him with super strong physical skills. During the fight, he commanded Jin Dun Kunwu to keep attacking. Exhaustion. This is Gong Yi's fighting strategy, and in the end, he was exhausted by 29 hunts. However, this person is also considered to be the essence of Bakuden explosion style and has a violent temper. Extracted all the chakras in his body and exploded in one breath, covering a 5-kilometer radius. He is going to drag Gong Yi to hell. It's a pity that in the end Gong Yi still relies on his keen spiritual insight. Aware of this, and ran out to avoid this explosion. Woo! Gong Yi let out a long sigh, and recalled the details of the battle while using the rejuvenation technique. Showing weakness in advance and eliminating the 30-odd elite Iwagakure, he was undoubtedly on the right track. With these 30 or so ninjas by his side, he would not be able to achieve the effect of fighting to consume. Carry's Bakuden explosion style and Deidara's clay explosion mystery later, are 2 completely different existences. Hunting is more suitable for frontal assault, Deidara's kind. Covers more area. Gong Yi imagined for a moment, if Deidara came and covered a radius of 10 kilometers this time, he would definitely not be able to escape. But if it was Deidara, then in the previous battle, he couldn't withstand Gong Yi's attack and was instantly killed. Shaking his head, looking at the tattered black robe on his body, some hidden skin leaked out. Especially in the abdomen, there are 2 different whites. This is where Gong Yi first started transplanting Hashirama cells. Gong Yi usually wears a tight black robe to hide his secrets. From the sealed scroll, he took out a spare black robe, and Gong Yi put it on again. It would be great if there was a space-type ninja that was easy to carry. The sealing scroll is too expensive to make, and it is too extravagant to use it to seal a piece of clothing. Gong Yi shook his head and looked back at the place where the explosion had just happened, no longer nostalgic. Towards the direction of Shinwukun Bridge, move forward quickly. The frontal battlefield should have already started. I don't know how things are going on Namikaze Minato. ... When Gong Yi arrived at Shinwukun Bridge, the plot in the original book had already happened. Kakashi was replaced with the Sharingan, and the band, buried under a boulder, is dead. Nohara Rin had his hands stained with blood because of the eye transplant operation. He sat there blankly at this moment, as if he couldn't believe that his companion died like this. Seeing Gong Yi appear, her eyes gleamed. Gongyi-kun, please, save Obito. Kakashi closed one eye, opened the other, and looked over, his eyes earnest. Gongyi nodded, crouched down, and put his hands on Obito. Chakra entered the body. Gongyi was impressed. At this moment, Obito is actually in a state of suspended animation and is not dead. If he hides himself in gold, grows a sword, and cuts off the stone that is holding him down with the sharpness of the golden shield chakra, and saves him instantly. Then use medical ninjutsu for treatment, and there is a good chance that Obito can be rescued. However, in this way, Uchiha Madara will not get Obito, and the follow-up plan will definitely change. Change constantly because of the butterfly effect. Own advantage in controlling the original book's intelligence may disappear. Not only that, Gongyi has more things in mind. As his strength continues to increase, there will be fewer and fewer ninjas who can threaten him. The hunter encountered this time, although tricky, never actually caused his life to be in danger. I'm no longer a teenager who is struggling to survive. Gongyi also wants to see how much happiness the endlessly emerging strongmen can bring to him in the future, but it doesn't seem very good to do nothing. The chakra that Gongyi sent in trembled slightly, and a strand of golden water drops silently disappeared from Obito's body. Gongyi stood up and said sadly, "Sorry, Rin, Obito is dead. Had it been earlier, maybe I could have saved him. But now, I'm really sorry." Nohara Rin slumped to the ground. Kakashi looked blank. Some so-called beliefs collapsed in his heart. Mission. Companion. What is the most important, father as an escapist coward or a hero who saves his comrades? Whoosh. A golden light flashed, and Namikaze Minato appeared in front of everyone with a tired expression. When I saw Uchiha Obito's death, I lost my mind for a moment. Although I had long expected the team members brought out by myself on this mission may have casualties. But when it did appear, he still blamed himself. Just looking at the stunned Nohara Rin and the dazed Kakashi, as the captain, I still have to be stronger. Kakashi, Rin, let's go first. When the war is over, we'll come back and take Obito's body. Gongyi grabbed Namikaze Minato and pointed at Kakashi. His left eye. Namikaze Minato was stunned when he saw Kakashi's left eye. But then, he said firmly, "This is Obito's will, and Kakashi will go with his will. After returning to the village, I will come forward to adjust this matter to the Uchiha family." After solving these matters, the 5 did not stay and left directly. Just after they left, the ground suddenly cracked, and a white figure came out. 320. Hey, I was almost discovered. That man in black robe, his mental power is really terrifying, and he has been monitoring all around. Fortunately, Obito is still. Hey, I'm missing an eye. ... The border of the land, 5 reappeared, and Namikaze Minato only needed to use Hiraishin again to return to a place not far from the battlefield. Just as he was about to leave, Gongyi suddenly stopped and spoke in distress. "Oops, one of my ninjutsu scrolls was accidentally lost when I was fighting. I have to get it back." Minato worried. "What scroll does it matter?" Gongyi nodded. "Tsunade teacher personally handed it to me, saying that it can help me restore my damaged appearance. I must go and get it back." "Minato, let's go first. It is estimated that the war on the frontal battlefield is also over. Right now, Konoha doesn't need me." Namikaze Minato thought for a while, and then no longer discouraged him, but instead told Gongyi a few words. Watching Namikaze Minato and the others disappear into the air, Gongyi regained his composure and turned to enter the land again. Jindan chakra is highly related to each other, so Gongyi can change its form at will, and even control it with his mind. The drop of golden chakra he left in Obito's body is the concentrated high chakra. Even if he is separated by dozens of kilometers, he can still feel his golden chakra faintly. In Gongyi's heart, that drop of concentrated chakra is going underground at a high speed. With the movement of his feet, Gangyi rushed into the jungle like an arrow from a string. Uchiha Madara, how are you doing now? I care about you, an old man. Chapter 163. The land of rain, it rains all year round, and there are many rains that flow down together. The borders of the country of earth and the country of fire, and finally flows into the mountains, rivers and seas, forming the country of rivers. To the east, it converges into the sea and surrounds the country of water. Gangyi traveled westward along the hinterland of the land of earth, relying on the faint feeling in his heart. Spending a day, I finally came to a huge canyon at the border between the land of earth and the land of rain. There are many mountains and rocks, waterfalls fall from the sky, and a huge river rushes through. Seems to be a natural scene, but in fact, as long as you are a ninja, you will know the name of this place. The Valley of the End. There was an inexplicable gleam in Gangyi's eyes, and he was a little excited. I didn't expect Uchiha Madara to come back here. He dared to catch up, naturally he was sure. Original book, Uchiha Madara at this time is already old and even dying. Otherwise, Uchiha Madara would not be in a hurry to find his own spokesperson to help him complete the follow-up Eye of the Moon plan. With his current state of prosperity, Gangyi felt that there should be no problem with Uchiha Madara who couldn't even walk. The mental power was released unscrupulously, and began to slowly penetrate into the bottom of the Valley of the End. Cough cough. Did you bring someone back? The old voice echoed faintly in the cave, and a weak old man walked out of the darkness. White Zetsu said respectfully, bring it back, but he's missing an eye. The face of the old man finally appeared in White Zetsu's eyes, with wrinkles and cloudy eyes. It was almost impossible to see that this was a taboo existence that once looked down upon the world of ninja. Uchiha Madara glanced at Obito, who was in a state of suspended animation on the ground, with some regrets. How can I lose one eye? This will have a great impact on my plan. Yes, the rumored Uchiha Madara is not one-eyed. If the stand-in chosen by him in the future is recognized by others, then all the plans will be in vain. White Zetsu's body shuddered. Obviously Uchiha Madara was old, why would a simple question make him panic? He gave his eyes to his best companion Kakashi. At that time, I wanted to take it back, but a black-robed man came from behind. This person has huge mental power and is very sensitive, I dare not approach him. Have the man in black robe heard what other people call him? It seems to be called Gangyi. Uchiha Madara closed his eyes and thought for a while. He made a lot of White Zetsu over the years to do things for him outside. Or guide the situation in the ninja world, or control some ninjas that are not powerful, and some are specially used to detect information. In his memory, it seemed that a few years ago, such a person did appear. Konoha's dark blue demon, good at taijutsu, Doden earth-style ninjutsu, medical ninjutsu. Rumor has it that its medical ninjutsu is not under Tsunade. Uchiha Madara shook his head, no longer blaming White Zetsu, and slowly crouched down, ready to channel the life force of Ten Tails, body to save Obito. Just at the moment when his mental power covered Obito, a drop of golden chakra suddenly burst into brilliance. Not good. You are being followed. ... Uchiha Madara, found you. Gangyi's expression was shocked, and then he was overjoyed. Without further ado, with a slap on the ground, a large number of chakra cracks turned and spread out, but this time, instead of spreading horizontally, they were torn away deep into the ground. He wants to break through a passage. Just the moment he used ninjutsu, an extremely frightening aura suddenly emerged from the depths of the ground. Gangyi's face changed greatly, and he hurriedly stepped back. Not only that, there are several defenses on the body. Boom! A great tentacle that looks like a tree root emerges from the ground, with a majestic momentum, even more terrifying than the eight-tailed octopus tentacle that Gangyi has ever seen. Great tentacles shot straight into the sky, and the wind and clouds changed color at this moment, and the waterfalls in the canyon stopped for a short time. Little guy, don't leave when you come. The old voice echoed in the valley of the end, and the great tentacle slammed it as if it had received some order. Gong Yi is crazy. Am I fucking him? Obviously at this time, Uchiha Madara has already sent Rinnegan out. How could he still mobilize the power of the Ten Tails body? The 8 inner gates opened 6 gates instantly. Gong Yi ran away at the fastest speed in his life, madly away from the valley of the end. But that tentacle was even faster. Almost in a blink of an eye, the tentacle directly slapped Gong Yi's face. Before Gong Yi roared, mobilizing all the cells in his body, squeezing out all the cellular energy that could be mobilized. The 7th door, the shocking door. Open. The turbulent blue steam burst out from him like an explosion, and there were countless blood mists in it. In the roar, a fist blasted out. Day Tiger, countless air swept in, was severely compressed, and then formed a transparent energy body shaped like a tiger, roaring and rushing towards the gray tentacles. Boom. After the 2-phase transition, Gong Yi barely opened the 7th door, obviously not strong enough. The Day Tiger only resisted for a while, and was washed away. Great tentacles continued to shoot. Gong Yi grinned, the moment when the Day Tiger resisted, barely enough. Dazzling golden light bloomed on his body, and a golden short knife flew up and down. Finally, the great tentacle and Gong Yi collided. Bang! Without any doubt, Gong Yi was directly pulled out, and at that moment, the sky was sprayed with blood mist. Like a shooting star, Gong Yi disappeared. Great tentacles trembled, then slowly returned to the ground. The earth closed together, as if nothing had happened. Cough cough. Uchiha Madara coughed violently, and blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. That kind of blue steam, I think it's the state of the 8 inner gates opening to the 7th gate. At his age, being able to open the 7th gate, the name of the dark blue devil is worthy of the name. Uchiha Madara exhaled a long breath. The person finally came over. It's just that this time I used the body of 10 tails, which consumed my little power. I'm afraid I won't be able to live for long. Alright, White Zetsu, Kurigakur's action, we have to speed up. White Zetsu lowered his head, his body trembling slightly. No wonder this old man looked like he was going to die, but he still gave him such a big pressure. Unexpectedly, he was able to mobilize the power of 10 tails, body. Even if it's just a tentacle, no one can stop it. He asked tentatively, that Gong Yi dead, if there is no accident, with a single blow from 10 tails, body, plus he forcibly opened the 7th door, he won't survive. Don't worry about him, just send Obito in. ... Somewhere in the land of rain, on a hill, there was a huge roar, followed by a burst of dust and smoke. However, after a heavy rain, these dust and smoke gradually disappeared. The moment Gong Yi crashed into the mountain, he used a rejuvenation technique on himself. I am he. This is killing me. Tilt of his head, Gong Yi fell into a coma. Chapter 164. 10 Tails Meet. On the battlefield of Konoha, the wind and the waves are calm. Countless ninjas are doing what they want to do in an orderly manner. Everyone's face has a different expression. Or joy, or excitement, but also sadness, even more days, despair. After every war, basically, a ninja's mentality will change, big or small. No matter what. Kill the enemy, or his own companion was killed, etc. This is already the 3rd day after the armistice. 3 days ago, Konoha and Iwagakure village had a head-to-head battle. Iwagakure village, led by 3 generations of Tsuchikage Onoki, launched a fierce attack on Konoha, and the scene was once dominant. But as the giant slug appeared on the battlefield, the scale of victory gradually tilted. Tsunade entered the war. Other words, Tsunade's psychic beasts joined the war. With the help of countless small slugs that split out, Konoha's ninjas burst out with a will to fight without fear of death, and beat Iwagakure to pieces. The tide has gone. Konoha this time, unlike before, will withdraw his troops directly. Rather, it is a constant siege and slaughter. Onoki, who originally hoped for reinforcements, did not wait for the reinforcements he wanted, but instead waited for the return of Namikaze Minato. After Namikaze Minato returned to 320, he announced a message. 3,000 Iwagakure were killed by him alone, and none of them survived. The village of Iwagakure completely lost the courage to resist, gathered the remnants, retreated furiously, until it entered the border of the land, and set up camp again. This battle also established Namikaze Minato's fame and made him loved and supported by countless Konoha ninjas. Why haven't you come back yet? Tsunade was anxiously walking around in the tent. Namikaze Minato hesitated, but finally asked curiously, Master Tsunade, what scroll did you give Gongyi that made him value it so much? Tsunade shook his head, it's my fault, it shouldn't have been given to him before the mission started. That scroll is a ninjutsu I just developed, it can save chakra that I don't usually use, and it can also stimulate cell activity to achieve the effect of beauty and beauty. I was thinking. The few people in the camp looked at each other, all of them sighed when they thought of Gongyi's appearance under his black coat all day long. Sarutobi Hiruzen walked in at this time, and seeing everyone was there, he nodded. Since everyone is here, let me tell you something. The ninja army has been stranded on the front line, which is not a good thing for us in the village of Iwagakure. Therefore, I have reached an agreement with Onoki to find a time to sign a peace treaty and to strike. Hearing this news, everyone was shocked. Is this war finally over? What do you think? Agree. Agreed, but the place where the peace treaty is signed has to be chosen, a neutral country. I have considered this matter. Since the battlefield is a country, when we sign a contract, it will also be signed in the country of rain. I will inform Hanzo of a Megakure village about this matter. When the proposal passed, Sarutobi Hiruzen went down. Complimenting Namikaze Minato, he let everyone leave and rectify the ninja army. As long as the peace treaty is signed, the army will withdraw and return to the village. Curtain was lifted, and a man walked in. Hiruzen, this time, are you going to spare Iwagakure village again? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked up at his old friend, who shook his head helplessly. Danzo, it's not that I won't listen to you this time. It's just that you have also seen that the representatives of the major families do not want to continue this war. And in the village, including the country of fire, there have been many negative opinions, and there have been several wars, which have a great impact on the social security and economy of the country's villages. Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen solemnly, and said categorically, this is not a reason. Sarutobi Hiruzen lowered his head, if you want a reason, I can give you one too. This time I brought out 10,000 ninjas, and the follow-up reinforcements were 2,000. Only 7,000 people left in the camp now, and almost half of them are dead. Do you think it is necessary to continue fighting? Hiss. Hearing this news, Rao is Danzo, and I can't bear it. Such a large number of casualties is almost comparable to all the casualties of Konoha during World War II. But when he thinks about the comeback of Sunagakure village, Danzo worries that Iwagakure village will have the same day. He stepped forward. There has been news from my roots. Since the last time Iwagakure was defeated, the Sunagakure side has been unable to sit still and has begun to withdraw its troops. As long as we transfer Jiraiya's troops, we can completely leave the main force of Iwagakure village on the battlefield. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly raised his head, his eyes shone with shock. I don't agree with this. The troops on Jiraiya's side are one of the few ninjas in the village. Fight, it's ruining Konoha's future. Konoha is in the country of rain, and there are 7,000 people. Addition to the remaining large troops on Jiraiya's side, the total strength of Konoha is still over 10,000. In the face of other ninja villages, he also has enough confidence. If the war continues, even if the main force of Iwagakure village is destroyed, Konoha will not be much better. This is the decision of the 3 generations of Hokage. Seeing that Shimura Danzo could not convince the 3 generations, he shook his head coldly, turned and left. Ah, it hurts. Uncomfortable. Gong Yi clutched his forehead and struggled to get up from the ground. Thinking back to that encounter a few days ago, Gong Yi doesn't stop grinning. This time count me to death. About it, Gong Yi roughly smoothed something. Apparently, after Uchiha Madara channeled the Ten Tails body with Rinnegan, the so-called Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, he was able to control Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. And he must have learned a lot about Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, during the time Rinnegan didn't send it out. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to absorb the life force of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, after Rinnegan sent it out to keep himself alive. Before dying, Black Zetsu was created using Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Words, it is in existence on the same level as Senju Hashirama, and it is the so-called reincarnation of Indra. Even without Rinnegan, fully mobilizing Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, but only using part of the power, is still possible. And part of the strength of Ten Tails, for himself, that is a devastating blow. Gong Yi looked at his body and frowned. After 3 consecutive days of rejuvenation treatment, it was still not complete. This is not just an injury caused by Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, I think it has something to do with forcibly opening the 7th door. Shaking his head, Gong Yi doesn't pay more attention to this matter, as long as there are a few more. One day, he will be able to return to his prosperous state. Gong Yi put his hand into his arms and took out something. His ugly face finally regained a little smile. White Zetsu didn't catch 10 tails, hull, but I cut a tiny bit with a gold dungeon. In his hand, there was a piece of gray-white meat, faintly still, outward, exuding a strange energy. At that time, after using the Day Tiger to counteract the first wave of the gray tentacles, Gong Yi used Jindun to resist for the second time, and even transformed into a Jindun chakra knife, forcibly cut off a small piece of 10 tails meat. No, I have to use the sealing technique to seal it up, otherwise, after this peculiar nature of the body energy is dissipated, I will be busy working in vain. Gong Yi endured the pain and planned to mobilize chakra first to seal the 10 tails meat. Started, 3 figures appeared in his mind. How could they be here? 165. Undercurrent surging, second more. The 3 of them nimbly jumped on the small Yamanaka with the rubble, and they talked while heading towards the hole in the mountain. That was knocked out. I heard from people nearby that there was a huge roar here a few days ago, and it seems that an extraterrestrial meteorite has landed. The speaker was a young man with orange hair. Behind him, a beautiful woman with blue hair smiled lightly. Where is there any meteorite outside the sky? It is estimated that the heavy rain caused the landslide. The orange-haired man shook his head. I don't see it. A landslide would not cause such a scene. Nagato, what do you think? The person he called was a Yuhi-haired man behind, with a thin body, shrouded in Yuhi's black trench coat. Nagato glanced up, and vaguely felt that something was wrong. At this moment, a black-robed figure, facing the drizzle, came out and looked at them condescendingly. 3 of them were immediately alert. This black-robed man exuded a dangerous aura, which made people very uneasy. Gong Yi is a little dazed. Is this the Akatsuki trio in the original book? As the leader, Yahiko is an optimistic and cheerful young man who is willing to throw his head and shed his blood for the sake of the country and the village. With a paper flower on her head should be Konan. Beautiful than I imagined, but the chest is a little flat, which is not what Gong Yi likes at all. As for the last, that melancholy thin young man. Looking at Yuhi's hair, Gong Yi suddenly had a whimsical idea. I wonder if he and Minato's girlfriend Uzumaki Kushina have a relationship. At least it's a distant cousin. Just when Gong Yi was thinking about it, Yahiko was angry. A full voice came from below. Hey, who are you? Gong Yi thought about it for a while, but for the time being, don't deal with them. I am injured now, the last one. Nagato is still Master Rinnegan. If a conflict breaks out, neither side will be able to get better. No comment. Gong Yi stomped heavily on his feet, and the huge anti-shock force pushed him far away. Watching Gong Yi leave, Conan said in a low voice, "This person should be injured. I don't know which village ninja, Yahiko, should we keep him?" Yahiko was a little embarrassed. He wasn't sure about Gong Yi's strength. At least it seems that Gong Yi's strength is erratic, sometimes strong, and now weak. He has no intention of becoming an enemy of us. It is estimated that he was injured and came here during the battle. Nagato said softly behind him. He just felt Gong Yi's gaze keenly. In those eyes, there was appreciation, doubt, and consideration, but there was no malicious intent. Yahiko is the leader. He thought about it and made a decision. It's Konoha and Iwagakure fighting time. We have to go back first and sit in the organization, lest that guy from Hanzo attack. As for the man in black robe just now, don't worry about him for now. ... It took Gong Yi 5 days to leave the country of rain, the country. It usually only takes a day at most. Once, because I was seriously injured, I don't want to drag it down. After returning to the country of fire, Gong Yi found a small town and took the time to recover from his injuries. At ease in the country of rain, which was too small. But at the moment, there are many strong people gathered, from Iwagakure village, Konoha, a Megakure village, and even spies from other shinobi villages, are missing Nin. In such a small place, the possibility of being hit is too great. Since Gong Yi bumped into Akatsuki's trio so quickly, Madara can be seen. On the land of fire, be a little safer. Just when Gong Yi took the time to recover from his injury, the external situation changed again. The Sunagakure village retreated and left Tianchuanyuan, and the army returned to the village. The Iwagakure village and Konoha ceased fighting and will sign a peace treaty 3 months later. Everything seems to be calm, but in the dark, there are still deep waters, and undercurrents are surging. The Kingdom of Thunder, Kumogakure village. 3 generations of Raikage combined the information sent by his son and Killer Bee before, plus the information about the truce of Konoha Iwagakure this time, and made a decision. In this battle, Sunagakure proved that he still has the power to spare. Iwagakure village made a name for himself. Konoha competed against the 2 major ninja villages one after another. Countless strong men emerged. My Kumogakure village, how can I be unknown? At least I have to leave our names in this war. Come here, choose 5,000 elite troops, and follow me to fight. The land of water, Kurigakure village. The newly appointed 4th generation Mizukage, Karataki Yagura, covered his face with his left hand, quietly listening to his subordinates report their work. Kisame Hoshigaki, the new owner of the big sword shark muscle, had betrayed the village. He waved his hand and let him go down. Standing up, Karataki Yagura silently walked towards the village of Kurigakure. The light in the passage occasionally shone on his face, and a hideous scar ran down the left eye to the chin. Karataki Yagura came to an abyss and listened quietly to the roar below. It was 3-tailed, one of 2-tailed beasts belonging to the village of Kurigakure. Now trapped in the abyss of Kurigakure, with the power of the seal, the tailed beast is forcibly suppressed. This is also the common way of dealing with tailed beasts in major ninja villages in the early days. It was only later that the strong men of Ninja Village wanted to use the power of the tailed beast, so they developed the model of Jinchuriki column power. The scar on her cheek with her left hand, Yagura pursed her lips tightly. That guy has Kekkei Genkei. I must have more power than him to avenge Shui hate. Human Jinchuriki column force. Maybe become human Jinchuriki column force and I can beat that guy. ... It's just that it's not yet time. My current physique is still a little short of being able to control the tailed beast. Yagura took a deep breath and suppressed the restlessness in her heart. Beckoned, let the ninja guarding the tailed beast come over, and told them to keep an eye on the seal and never make any mistakes. This is his chance to become stronger. and he will never allow any situation beyond his control. In the land of rain, a man on crutches quietly walked into the place of the leader of the Omegakure village. Hanzo, we meet again. Danzo, what are you doing? I'm here to give you a great gift. With the power of Konoha, help you pacify Akatsuki in the country. HMPH, unprovoked help is bound to hide evil intentions. Tell me, what are the conditions? Danzo looked at the man in front of him, wearing a gas mask, and smiled grimly. Refused to act as a neutral party to cease fighting between Konoha and Iwagakure to conclude a peace treaty. Hanzo of the Salamander frowned. Why should I refuse you two shinobi villages to fight in our country? It has already caused great turmoil, and even the daimyo of the Kingdom of Rain is asking me to come forward and prepare to regulate this war. Danzo spread out his hands and said sincerely, don't you think that Konoha and Iwagakure continue to fight and have no time to take care of your Omegakure village? Is it a great opportunity for you to unify the country? I mean unification, including the name of the land of rain. Hanzo of the Salamander fell into silence. After a long time, he said hoarsely, how will you help me? My roots are in Akatsuki. With this convenience, I can help you get rid of Akatsuki first. Deal in. Chapter 166. The Death of Rin Yi Yuan III. 2 months later, Kakashi, this time, you are the captain, leading the team on a mission. Hearing Namikaze Minato's words, Kakashi subconsciously looked at the 2 team members behind him. Nohara Rin, Asuma. Uchiha Obito, who used to like to oppose him, has disappeared. No, he's still, his eyes are on me, and he's been in our squad. Kakashi took a deep breath and started asking about the specifics of the mission. Why do you go to Kurigakure for intelligence work? Namikaze Minato explained patiently. In a month, we will sign a peace treaty with Iwagakure village. The villages of Kurigakure and Kumogakure certainly don't want to see this going smoothly. Kurigakure village lost to Iwagakure village last time. Not only the strength was greatly lost, but even the 3 generations of Mizukage were lost in that battle. If Iwagakure village continues to fight against Konoha and its strength continues to weaken, then Kurigakure village will have an opportunity to seek revenge. Kumogakure village is different. Kumogakure village has always been belligerent, and at this moment must be unable to bear it, and wants to participate in this war. They also don't want Konoha and Iwagakure village to stop. After listening to these reasons, 3220. Kakashi thoughtfully. Your mission is to keep an eye on the side of Kurigakure village. If there is a large-scale military deployment, report it to Lord Hokage immediately. I specially transferred Asuma. He has participated in intelligence missions in Kurigakure village before. If you have any questions, you can ask him more. Kakashi glanced at Asuma, and Asuma nodded at him. Namikaze Minato waved his hand. Okay, let's go. I also have something to do here. After all, the place where the peace treaty was signed is in the land of rain, a country with a complicated environment. I have to do the safety of Lord Hokage first. The 3 of Kakashi retired and headed straight towards the village of Kurigakure. Cough, wake up, don't pretend to be asleep. The old voice echoed in the small underground stone house, weak, but it made people feel eerie. Uchiha Obito turned over abruptly, with terrifying wounds that had been healed by the enormous vitality of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Half of the body is filled with Hashirama cells, so it moves without hindrance. Old guy, why are you keeping me here? Let me out. Ahem, young man, speak with respect, I am your ancestor. Obito was startled, and then dismissed. What a joke, I've never heard of the name Uchiha Madara. Old man stood at the door, hunched over his waist and shook his head. That group of people back then wiped out my history so cleanly. Even the younger generations don't know that their ancestors, together with Senju Hashirama, were the ones who pacified Sengoku. Cough, cough, cough twice, the old man pointed to the top. The Valley of Ending Nose. Obito nodded, of course he knew about the Valley of the End. There are two statues there, one is Senju Hashirama and the other is me. Hiss. Obito gasped, then looked at him suspiciously. Then you should be dead, why are you still alive? The old man smiled hoarsely. To live is actually a pain. Just like in this world, everyone has his pain, you, me, including anyone. I want to end this pain and create a world where there is no war, no hatred, no interests, only harmony, friendship, and warmth. So, I survived that battle. It's weird, I don't understand. Obito shook his head, he didn't want to hear this at all. I don't understand, I can tell you slowly. For example, I am currently implementing a plan called Eye of the Moon. ... Night, a figure ran out along the small tunnel. Woo. Uchiha Obito took a breath of air, it's been a long time since he came out. White figure gradually emerged and stood beside him. White Zetsu, you said you know Kakashi and Rinaku. Obito asked excitedly. He didn't even care about that. He called himself Uchiha Madara, what the Moon's Eye project was talking about. After regaining his mobility, he just wanted to hurry back to the village and reunite with Kakashi and Rin. If they saw that they were not dead, they would be very happy. White Zetsu's eyes flickered, and he pointed in a direction. They are on a mission in Kurigakure village, if you want to go, I can take you there. Then what else, let's go. Uchiha Obito ran quickly. Reason, he found that his body was better than before, his speed was faster, and his strength was stronger. Obito, why can you see so clearly at night? White Zetsu asked suspiciously beside him. Obito froze for a moment and tried to turn on Sharingan. The first time he opened Sharingan after he was injured, because he was afraid that he had only one eye and couldn't open Sharingan. However, when he opened it, the whole person was stunned. 3-Tomo's Sharingan, with a sinister but graceful gesture, turned slowly. Seeing this scene, White Zetsu couldn't help but nodded secretly. Sure enough, Uchiha Madara is right, the strong emotional stimulation can make the Uchiha family open their eyes much faster. It has nothing to do with age, only with qualifications. Those with poor qualifications may not be able to open 3-Tomo in a lifetime. Good qualifications, you can open 3-Tomo at the age of 11 or 12, and even have the opportunity to reach a more perfect level. Undoubtedly, Uchiha Obito is one of those hidden geniuses. All that is missing is a person who can tap his potential. Obito is even more excited. He actually opened the 3-Tomo Sharingan, and when he is familiar with the master, his strength may be stronger than Kakashi. He can't wait to meet Kakashi and Rin. In the endless abyss, it is empty. Karataki Yagura stood there, shaking all over. Boom! A huge water Jinchuriki column rose into the sky. Karataki Yagura turned her head and looked at the ninjas behind her fiercely. I ask you, what about Asata Mio? Answer me, you bastards. No one dared to make a sound, and in the next moment, no one could make a sound. Karataki Yagura directly killed these ninjas to vent their anger, and then rushed out of Kurigakure village without looking back. He wants to find Asata Mio. That's the only way for him to become stronger. Boom! In the dark night, thunder roared and rain poured down. Kakashi swallowed and looked at Asuma, who had collapsed on the ground, and Rin Nohara, who was being controlled by the demonic illusion of the Kurigakure ninja, and he was confused again. What he should do is around him, hundreds of Kurigakure ninjas, slowly approaching. And he dare to push too hard, there seems to be something they are afraid of, there. Suddenly, a clear light flashed in Nohara Rin's eyes, and she anxiously shouted to Kakashi, Kakashi, kill me. They sealed the tailed beast in my body, and wanted to send me into Konoha village and destroy Konoha. Kakashi raised his head, thinking of Obito's request before he died. No, I will definitely save you. Even if it's a tailed beast, I'll ask the teacher to come out and seal it up. Rin shook his head sadly, they planted a spell in me, I can't resist, even if you save me. Release the 3 tails under their command. For the village, for the companions, for Asuma, and for you. Kakashi, kill me, then take Asuma and run away, you must do it. Kakashi trembled, he knew that Rin was right. But let him kill Rin himself, how can he do? Kakashi, hurry up, I can't hold on anymore. Rin cried out in pain. In her body, there was not only a so-called spell, but also a tailed beast that was only sealed soon. With her ordinary physique, she couldn't last long. Originally, according to the plan of the Kurigakure ninja, the three tails were sealed into Nohara Rin's body. Then send the unconscious Nohara Rin to the Konoha army camp, or to the Konoha village. The three tails will directly break out of the seal. 1.6 By then, Konoha is devastated, and the village of Iwagakure is sure to tear up the short-lived truce. War begins again, and the village of Kurigakure has a chance for revenge. Kakashi's hands lit up with dazzling white light, and he closed his eyes in pain. Reikiri. When Reikiri pierced Rin's chest, Kakashi felt a sharp pain in his brain, especially his left eye, and he fainted instantly. Not far away, Uchiha Obito, who had just arrived, was stunned. Rin. Kakashi, you killed Rin. Ah! Uchiha Obito screamed in the sky, and in his right eye, 3 Tomo Sharingan turned extremely fast. The surging mental power is continuously inhaled, accelerating the evolution of Sharingan. When Mangekyo Sharingan stabilized, Uchiha Obito moved. However, there is one person who moves faster than him. Dazzling golden light, thousands of illusions, blooming bloody flowers in the rainy night. Along with the screams of the Kurigakure ninja, a black-robed figure suddenly appeared beside Kakashi and Nohara Rin. Chapter 167. Sano Isao. Are you one step too late? The black-robed figure let out a long sigh, the momentum on his body increased again, and the dazzling golden light became more vigorous. Hundreds of Kurigakure ninjas, in constant screams, rapidly decreased. In less than a minute, thousands of golden lights were withdrawn from the body. Uchiha Obito, who was about to rush out, stopped in place after hearing his words. Is it too late? Yeah, Reikiri of Kakashi, can even cut through lightning. How can Rin survive? A deep look at Gongyi, Uchiha Obito left in tears. Madara, the world, as you say, is full of pain. Gongyi stood silently on the spot, as if replying to Chakra, but in fact, he was always probing the surroundings with his mental power. When Uchiha Obito left, the corners of his mouth curled slightly. It's not too late, it's not too late. Grab Nohara Rin's corpse. Gongyi disappeared into the vast darkness. Kakashi, wake up. Kakashi opened his eyes weakly, and Asuma was looking at him with concern. Asuma looked around in horror. Kakashi, did you kill all these people? Kakashi looked over blankly and shook his head. But then, thinking of the scene where Reikiri ran through Rin's body before, he hugged his head in pain. No. 29. Although it is extremely painful, this place is not a place to stay for a long time. Rin's body was not found, and Kakashi returned to the Konoha camp with Asuma in grief. He told his teacher about his previous experience and the three-tailed plan of the Kurigakure ninja without reservation. Although Namikaze Minato was sad that he lost another team member, he still gave a calm judgment. Although the human Jinchuriki column force has died, it does not mean that the tailed beast will also die. The tailed beast itself is a collection of chakras. When the human Jinchuriki column force dies, it will have a brief runaway riot, but then the chakra will dissipate and enter a dormant state. Over time, the tailed beast will be able to revive on its own. It comes to understanding the tailed beast, Namikaze Minato is also one of the best too. After all, his girlfriend, Uzumaki Kushina, is the most powerful Kyuubi 9 tails person Jinchuriki column force, and he also went to learn a lot of information just in case. You said that after you woke up, hundreds of Kurigakure ninjas had died tragically. Think the tailed beasts lost control before they dissipated and killed them? Asuma was puzzled, then why did Kakashi and I both fall into a coma when both of us were in a coma? Maybe we could take our lives with just one tap. Namikaze Minato looked at Kakashi with complicated eyes. Perhaps Rin said something to the three tails in her body before she died. Human Jinchuriki column power can communicate with the tailed beast. When things are strange, people usually use their own knowledge to reasonably supplement him. In Gong Yi's words, this is the so-called brain supplement. In a dark cave, there is a rudimentary but well-equipped laboratory. This is one of many labs in Orochimaru. Before the war, Orochimaru gave Gong Yi a total of 2 laboratories that he had basically abandoned. One is at Sunagakure Battlefield and the other at Iwagakure Battlefield. The reason why it is so generous is actually not complicated. Orochimaru didn't want Gong Yi to stop his research because of the war. And on the battlefield, it is the easiest place to experience it, and it will not be easily discovered by others. Gong Yi looked at the breathless, naked Yi Yuan corpse, and his hands were extremely fast. 10 Hashirama cells. Not enough. 20. Hashirama cells contain huge vitality. Even if they are not comparable, they are still among the best in the ninja world. And Hashirama cells contain Mokudan, wood-style chakra. Mokudan, wood-style chakra can effectively restrain the tailed beast. Uchiha Madara can use Hashirama cells to reshape the body for Obito. Gong Yi now, through a lot of research, he can also use Hashirama cells to do body repair for Nohara Rin. Gong Yi blinked as he watched Hashirama cells gobble up Nohara Rin's own cells frantically. Palm Sage Art spread out without hesitation. Kakashi is relentless. Reikiri didn't penetrate Rin's fatal point. That's right, from Kakashi's point of view, Rin was the only thing Obito had in mind before he died. He couldn't possibly kill him. Fortunately, I gave myself a chance. Nohara Rin's smooth and beautiful body has a huge wound created by Reikiri. However, under the intermittent medical ninjutsu treatment by Gong Yi, and the stimulated Hashirama cells, they are slowly repairing. But even so, Nohara Rin showed no sign of waking up. The rescue continued until dawn. Even so, Gong Yi didn't dare to be careless. When the day dawned, Gong Yi bit Kiba and infiltrated Rin's belly with his spiritual power. Tick, tick, it seems like a dark sewer, but also like an unfathomable abyss. When Gong Yi's spiritual will was manifested, a pair of deep eyes shot over. A huge and majestic voice suddenly sounded, deafening. Human, who are you? Gong Yi stared blankly at the big tortoise with 3 flat tails and covered with thorns in front of him, his emotions fluctuating. This is Mio, Isoda Mio. In fact, Gong Yi has always wondered about certain things about Hokage's original work. Like the simplest one. Sanwei's first-person, Jinchuriki column force, is Nohara Rin. Before that, Sanwei has been in a state of being sealed and trapped. It wasn't until it was sealed inside Nohara Rin's body that it emerged from the water. But it didn't last long in the body of the first incumbent Jinchuriki column. What Gong Yi wondered was, obviously Kakashi killed Nohara Rin, the tailed beast should dissipate between heaven and earth, and it will take a long time to reunite. But in the original book, Karataki Yagura, shortly after that, became the 3-tailed Jinchuriki column force. That is to say, the 3 tails did not dissipate directly. Is this a plot or something else? In order to solve this doubt, Gong Yi went to the border of Kurigakure village after recovering from his injuries. He knew that as long as he followed Kakashi and Nohara Rin closely, this question would be answered soon. Sure enough, when Nohara Rin was about to fall into death, the 3 tails did not dissipate, but tried his best to maintain Nohara Rin's last breath. 3 questions, Gong Yi instantly understood. Looking up at the giant 3 tails, Gong Yi smiled. It doesn't matter who I am, what matters is that your man Jinchuriki column force is going to die soon. And this also means that you will be scattered between heaven and earth. Sanwei was silent for a while, then suddenly let out a manic roar. No, it took me countless years to condense and form, and it can't be dissipated. I don't want to be locked in that dark place again. Gong Yi laughed, and sure enough, Sanwei was locked up by Kurigakure village for a long time. When the Kurigakure ninja sealed it into Nohara Rin's body, it did not resist and was sealed in obedience. When it wants to come, even in the body of the human Jinchuriki column, it can take a look at this wonderful world. And according to Gong Yi's knowledge, among the 9-tailed beasts, can reach mutual understanding and trust with the tailed beasts are Kyubi, 9 tails with 2 tails, 4 tails, 6 tails, 8 tails and Naruto. But there are 5 other people, but they can completely suppress the power of the tail beast and use it for their own use. 6 Paths Immortals, Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara, and Uchiha Obito who opened Mangekyo Sharingan. There is another one, the 4th generation of Mizukage, Karataki Yagura. Karataki Yagura Hida Hinang, compared with the above 4 people, he can suppress the 3 tails, which, at least a large part of the credit, is the 3 tails voluntarily. In this way, for Rescue Nohara Rin, Gong Yi is a little more confident. Looking at Sanwei, Gong Yi said loudly, "You must be able to observe the current situation of Jinchuriki column force. Next, I need your help, stay with me and save her life." Chapter 168. Black Zetsu White Zetsu, 5th. Half a month later, Gong Yi stood in front of the experimental bench with a slightly tired expression. Holding a glass of water, he drank it in small sips. In front of him, there is still that young and tender, yet smooth body full of temptation. Nohara Rin is still in a coma. This is the reason for Gong Yi's head. The pain. He has spent all the Hashirama cells he carried and implanted them in Nohara Rin. In order to curb the phagocytosis of a large number of Hashirama cells, he also injected Nohara Rin with the inhibitor he had developed. Coupled with the help of Mio Isau's chakra, from time to time, Hashirama cells are fused with Nohara Rin's own cells, strengthening her body. After all, Nohara Rin is just an ordinary woman, not like Kushina, Naruto, etc. People with Jinchuriki column power and a strong physique. Her own strength is not strong, and sealing the tailed beast has caused a great burden on her body. The fusion of Hashirama cells greatly enhances her body's strength. The injuries caused by Kakashi Reikiri before were also healed by Gong Yi's continuous medical ninjutsu treatment. But even so, Nohara Rin did not wake up. As if he was just a vegetative person. Gong Yi sighed, infiltrated his spiritual power, and came to the place where the 3 tails were sealed again. One man and one beast, looking at each other. Iso Sano said suddenly, "Is it because she was hit by demonic illusion before, and was implanted with a spell that could control her will? Before she died, although Kakashi had broken the spell, it had also damaged her brain and will." Gong Yi frowned, something he hadn't considered. "Didn't you take action and stabilize Rin Nohara's injury?" Sanwei snorted, "I'm not omnipotent, my chakra can only guarantee Kakashi's Reikiri, not to let her die physically. But the mental will is something I can't touch." Gong Yi shook his head, "No, the tailed beast can affect the spirit and will of a person's Jinchuriki column. Can influence, does not mean can protect. Another synonym for tailed beast, but a fusion of negative spiritual will. As far as I know, one-tail Shukaku is the most violent, its people Jinchuriki column force, can't even sleep." Gong Yi's head. "It hurts a bit. If it keeps going like this, then Nohara Rin is alive, but what is the difference between a comatose vegetative and dead?" Just when he was having a headache, Mio Asata suddenly said, "Human, you can use your spiritual power to enter the seal and talk to me." "Then why didn't you enter into the depths of Jinchuriki column's consciousness and wake her up?" Quote. Gong Yi was stunned. He remembered something. In the original novel, when Naruto hit pain, he fell into a state of out of control. What awakened him was Namikaze Minato's residual will. With his current mental power, he should be able to achieve the same effect as Namikaze Minato. After thinking about it, Gongyi exited the seal of the tailed beast, held his breath, and slowly spread his mental power into the depths of Nohara Rin's brain. It seems to be effective, but just when Gongyi wanted to go further, a thick mental barrier blocked his mental power. Gongyi tried for a long time, except causing Rin Nohara's consciousness to shake. He was completely unable to break through this final barrier. Gongyi, who had no choice but to give up, suddenly realized after thinking about it. The will that Namikaze Minato left, but when he was just born, he didn't even have a thought. Naruto at that time was just like a white paper, without any defenses. Minato, as his father, was about to die again, and in this case, it was really easy to leave behind a mental force with will. But Nohara Rin is different. A person, the longer he lives, the more he experiences, the richer his emotions, and the stronger his heart defense will be. Particular, Nohara Rin was in a dying state before, and her body's emergency mechanism would make her passively fall into a deep sleep. The so-called spiritual will is naturally sealed by the brain. Gongyi blinked. Perhaps I can solve this problem when my spiritual power completely breaks through the 100 mark, reaches the 4th level of divine refining, and gives birth to the so-called divine consciousness. Gongyi's guess is justified. Gongyi has been cultivating and researching since the beginning of the divine refinement, and he has gradually figured out some things. Divine refinement can strengthen the spiritual power, make it stronger, and practice it to a high level, and it has many magical effects. This technique is divided into 9 layers in total. From 1 to 3 layers, it strengthens its own spiritual power and reaches the ultimate of ordinary humans. At this time, it has the effect of not forgetting, distinguishing true from false, and seeing a 1,000-meter radius. If you use the age to distinguish the peak of the 3-layer spiritual art, 99 points of mental power, and ordinary people can only live for 100 years at most, isn't it exactly corresponding? Into another realm. Can even refine spiritual consciousness, gain insight into all things, and spy on heaven and earth. Consciousness. Gongyi narrowed his eyes slightly. Presumably the consciousness will have a more wonderful effect. The Hashirama cells carried on his body have been exhausted, and he cannot continue to strengthen Nohara Rin's body, and the fusion progress of his own Hashirama cells has also been dragged down. Gongyi simply left here. Clean clothes for Nohara Rin and put her on his back. Then Gongyi put on a huge black robe. Gongyi himself is slender, so it will only make people feel that his back is a little hunched and his body is a little fatter. Using a special potion to cover up Nohara Rin's aura, Gongyi started to drive towards Konoha village. As far as he knew, this time period happened to be the period when Konoha was going to sign a peace treaty with the village of Iwagakure. The strong have come to the country of rain. Return to the village at this time, I won't attract anyone's attention. Obito, I will teach you what I can teach you. Cough, there is not much time, you have not learned, you will understand and learn later. With your talent, as long as you concentrate, you will surely reap the rewards. I have a premonition that my time is running out and that I will die soon. Those things entrusted to you, I hope you can do it well. Up tremblingly and handed a huge fan to Obito. This is the symbol of my Uchiha Madara, the Uchiha fan. It is with me and will be given to you in the future. Obito silently took the huge fan and looked at the old man with a faint gaze. In a short period of time, the old man gave almost everything and taught himself everything he knew. The forbidden technique of the Uchiha family, the use of Mangekyo Sharingan, and the powerful yin and yang escape, 6 paths forbidden technique, etc. Although there are many things, there is no master, but after so many years, this is the first person to give everything to himself. Now, even the sickle he used as a crutch is tied to the fan and given to himself. Rin died, and he died in the eyes of the so-called world, and now this old man is also dying. Unprecedented loneliness pervades my heart. Uchiha Obito bowed slightly, bowed to his ancestor Uchiha Madara, and turned to leave. White Zetsu, let's go to the land of rain to relax. I want to meet the man who bears Madara's eyes. Not long after he left, Uchiha Madara put his trembling hand on Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Other hand, grabbed a white Zetsu. With the enormous vitality of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, and the will of Uchiha Madara, it was forcibly poured into White Zetsu's body. Soon, half of White Zetsu's body turned from white to black. Black Zetsu is born. From now on, you will be Obito's assistant, helping him execute the Moon Eye plan. Watch him for me by the way. Black Zetsu said coldly, I was created by you, he will doubt me. It doesn't matter, I told him about it, and he will only know that you have inherited part of my experience. And even if he doubts it, when he decides to join the Moon Eye project, the relationship with me is no longer the relationship between ancestors and clansmen, but a cooperative relationship of mutual use. A little doubt, it's fine. Thank you for the 10,000 points in the world, and also thank you for the thousands of rewards from the brothers like Xuancheng Poison and Lord Bohu. I've been really busy recently. Today, I attended a friend's wedding. While coding, I didn't pay attention to the reward. Didn't expect the brothers to be so fierce, they startled me. Wait for me to go back. Burst. Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 169. Yin Seal. Konoha 47 years late. While it snows in other countries, it still rains in the country of rain. It's just that the rain was colder than usual. Like Nagato's heart at this time, as cold as a piece of ice. He stood there trembling all over, and at his feet was the dead Yahiko. Nagato, you have Rinnegan, you will be the one who will change the world. You will be the bridge to peace, and let my death be the Jinchuriki column that supports your bridge. Before Yahiko's death are still in my ears. Nagato raised his head tremblingly and looked at the people on the cliff. Hanzo of the Salamander, Danzo of Konoha. Ah! He screamed in the sky, and the power of Rinnegan burst out. A huge golem rose from the ground, and the mountain collapsed and the ground cracked. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Danzo's face changed greatly and he stepped back. Hanzo, what I promised you, I have done. The leader of Akatsuki is dead, so I'll leave it alone. Not far away, Uchiha Obito watched this scene indifferently. He knew Konan was caught, and he also found Danzo's secret agent in Akatsuki, but he didn't do anything. He only needs Nagato, the other Konan and Yahiko are not his target. Just seeing the Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, being channeled out, he blinked. White Zetsu beside him winked and said, Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, is here, then Uchiha Madara. Obito looked up at the sky and put on the mask he was not used to. He's dead. From now on, I is Uchiha Madara. ... Danzo fled back to the Konoha camp in embarrassment under the escort of the Roots. Although embarrassed, he was happy. Now that the country of rain is in chaos, the truce between Konoha and Iwagakure village is bound to fail. Just that when he saw the smiling face of the 3 generations of Hokage, his heart skipped a beat. Pack up, let the army move, and prepare to go back to the village. Danzo was incredulous and hurried to find Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at him and shook his head. Danzo, I know what you do. It's just that the village really can't stand the toss now. I have signed a preliminary armistice agreement with Onoki, and then the daimyo of the 2 countries will send someone to sign the peace treaty. The land of rain, it's just for Kurigakure and Kumogakure. That's just a pretense. That was just a pretense. Shimura Danzo took a deep breath, forcibly suppressed his anger, and turned to leave. He was tricked by Sarutobi Hiruzen. That pretense, not only for Kurigakure, Kumogakure, but for Shimura Danzo. Ridiculously planned, he damaged a large number of root members lurking in the land of rain, and even dragged Hanzo of the salamander into the water. Now, haha, the army of Konoha began to retreat to the village in an orderly manner. On the side of the village, in the Orochimaru laboratory, a man in black robes ushered in. "Oh Gongyi, you're back so soon." Orochimaru said so, but didn't seem surprised by Gongyi's sudden return. Gongyi shrugged and said in a hoarse voice, "There is no war ahead, so why bother with me as a seriously wounded person?" Orochimaru chuckled, "You are not seriously injured. Let me guess, you have recovered 70% to 80% of your strength now, or, in fact, you have already recovered. With smart people often doesn't require too much bewildering temptation." Gongyi said without shyness, "If I meet the 3 generations of Mizukage again, I am sure that I will retreat." There was a pungent medicinal smell dripping in the air, and the movements of his hands were staring at Gongyi seriously. "It seems that your medical ninjutsu is better than I thought. Why don't you think that my strength is higher than your imagination?" Hee. Orochimaru sneered, waved his hand and said, "Tell me, what are you looking for today?" Gongyi didn't hide his intentions, and said directly, "The Hashirama cells on top are exhausted, and more experimental materials are needed." "So fast?" Orochimaru raised his eyebrows. He remembered the last time he gave Gongyi hundreds of Hashirama cells. Why did it consume so quickly? Could it be that his one-sided research has made a breakthrough? But this time, Orochimaru is destined to disappoint Gongyi. "Sorry, I don't have enough Hashirama cells anymore." Gongyi frowned and suddenly realized that Orochimaru itself also obtained Hashirama cells from Danzo. At this time, Danzo, who should be in the land of rain, the supply of Hashirama cells also stopped. Gongyi doesn't like this way. He started to think that maybe he should bypass Orochimaru and work directly with Danzo. "Gongyi, I am curious, how far has your Hashirama cell research progressed?" "Transplantation has already started, and there is a chance of success, but the ability of Hashirama cells has been suppressed so much that it is not as good as I thought." Gongyi had some reservations, and by the way took out a suppressant potion. Orochimaru took the inhibitor and immediately found an experimental subject to test it. After seeing the result, I couldn't help shaking my head. Incapacity is not what I want. But it also proves that you have a chance to succeed in this way. You go ahead, maybe it won't be long before you have new Hashirama cells available to you. Gongyi turned around and wanted to leave, but just glanced at the prison in the laboratory and stopped immediately. "Orochimaru, you've crossed the line." Of course Orochimaru knew what he was talking about, but unfortunately, there was no turning back. In a corner of the prison, there were several ninjas wearing Konoha forehead guards. Orochimaru refused to go to the battlefield because the experiment had reached a critical moment. But with the outbreak of the war, he stayed in the village and the number of experimental subjects became less and less. When no one was paying attention, his hand had already reached out to the village ninja. Of course, perhaps before that, he had already started similar actions. After all, this is a lawless, daring lunatic. Hashirama cells are temporarily scarce, the plan to fuse them has to be slowed down. As for Nohara Rin's side, Gongyi doesn't have much thought. Nohara Rin's body repair has already been completed, and the Hashirama cells transplanted to her are more to enhance her physique, so that she can withstand the 3-tailed chakra in the future. Her real problem is mainly in the coma. After Gongyi came home, he took out the scroll that Tsunade gave him. Yin Seal. This ninjutsu has already reached the level, although there is no frontal combat ability, but usually saves chakra, and has a steady stream of chakra during battle. This effect is quite insane. It can be called a copycat version of the tailed beast. And long-term use, it also has the effect of stimulating cell activity. It is very mild. Compared with Raiden Thunder style, it stimulates cell activity. Tsunade is starting to practice now, but when the plot starts later, he is still like a royal sister in her 20s and 30s, and the credit is all on the yin seal. Some research, Gong Yi had the confidence to succeed in his cultivation. Essentially, chakra cannot stay in the body all the time like the internal force in martial arts novels. Generally, when fighting, the body energy is instantly extracted and combined with mental ability to form chakra. The yin seal is different, it opens a similar, dantian, on the forehead. Or, sea of air. The same thing, sealed with a unique sealing technique. Usually, the yin seal will collect the chakra extracted from the body. During battle, it can be released. Longer the savings, the more chakras are sealed. The difficulty of cultivation is mainly in the ability to control the chakras and the control of the sealing technique. Speaking of these 2 points, Gong Yi smiled. My chakra control ability will amaze even Tsunade. Since I got the various sealed books that Kushina brought over, I have been studying some of them from time to time over the years, and I can be considered a grandmaster. Since the Hashirama cells cannot be fused for the time being, I might as well learn the yin seal first. Once learned, the effect is not much worse than after Hashirama cell fusion. Half a month later, the Konoha ninja army slowly returned to the village. Compared with the previous war guys, this time the crowd that greeted them no longer cheered or jumped for joy. There is less joy and joy, more is sadness. A battle with Iwagakure, Sunagakure, Konoha died too many ninjas. Even some villagers looked at the 3 generations of Hokage, full of resentment. Lord Hokage personally led the expedition. Why did my brother still die on the battlefield and why didn't my father come back to my lover? Sarutobi Hiruzen could naturally feel this atmosphere, waved his hand to disband the ninja army. He returned to Hokage's office a little lonely. It's just that some people don't want him to have time to sort out his mood. The secret report that had been sent to his desk before the war started, this time, it was sent again. Not only that, but related rumors began to spread in the village. Orochimaru is doing human experiments. The ninja who disappeared in the village in the last 2 years are related to Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen closed his eyes and looked sad. Own disciple, why do you do this? Tree Tiger, Kakashi, come with me. The 2 ninjas wearing animal masks nodded, followed behind Sandai, and walked outside the village. On the secret report, there are the specific addresses of several laboratories in Orochimaru. NLT, otherwise it will be banned. Chapter 170, Orochimaru's Defection. The breeze blew, and the wind chimes rang softly. In the sound of jingle bells, a visitor arrives. Gong Yi opened his eyes and saw Danzo, whose face was not so good-looking, and smiled slightly. Danzo, shouldn't you be very happy now? Danzo has reason to be happy. Because the Orochimaru thing is. He spread it out himself. With the end of the war, the 3 generations of Hokage must be responsible for the casualties in this battle, and at his age, it is indeed time to step down. Danzo is ambitious, and he wants to take the Hokage position. But before that, he had to deal with Orochimaru. With Orochimaru around, Danzo wouldn't be the Hokage. Presumably at this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen has led people to discover Orochimaru's laboratory, and those ninjas who are used for human experiments. The day Orochimaru defected, it is today. Danzo snorted, what are you doing with me? Gong Yi smiled and threw out several research records. Danzo took it and frowned. However, just after a few glances, his face changed slightly. Gong Yi said softly, as you must know, I was very close to Orochimaru before. The Hashirama cells you supply to Orochimaru keep increasing. The reason is, I work with Orochimaru to study Hashirama cells together. What he knows, I know. What he doesn't know, I also know on my side. Now that Orochimaru has defected, don't you think about finding another collaborator? Danzo was a little moved, and if he really followed what Gong Yi said, then he seemed to be able to agree. However, being cautious, he still pretended to be disdainful and said, what do you know at your age? Gong Yi rolled his eyes and chuckled. At least I know that in Orochimaru's Hashirama cell research, there is a child who is very likely to survive and become Master Mokuden, wood style. What? Danzo's face changed greatly. Orochimaru had already reached this point. Why didn't he tell himself? Gong Yi thought of the child who survived in the original book, Yamato. He smiled slightly. I am good at medical ninjutsu, and most of Orochimaru's experimental subjects have been treated by me. If you don't believe me, you can take someone to search his lab right now. The child can be found before he is killed or leaves the village. Danzo took a deep look at Gong Yi and immediately turned to leave. Behind him, Gong Yi no. A soft voice came from far away. This is the sincerity I showed you before the cooperation. I hope you will show your sincerity later. ... Danzo left, and Gong Yi was not idle either. Guessing the location of several laboratories in Orochimaru, Gong Yi decided to take a look. He wanted to know how, with the 3 generations of Hokage and Anbu, how could Orochimaru leave Konoha village calmly? Only when Gong Yi actually saw the scene of Orochimaru and the 3 generations of Hokage fighting, he shook his head sarcastically. 3 generations stay. This man, who pretended not to know about Orochimaru's human experimentation, has now kept his hand. I really love this disciple, I love it. But if the 3 generations know, Orochimaru has already taken the man. It's all done to a child. How will you decide at 3 o'clock? It's really ironic. It's a pity that the 3 generations want to keep their hands, but one is unwilling to let Orochimaru go. Just when Orochimaru was out of the pursuit of the 3rd generation and the strong Anbu, it also stopped him on the route he was going to leave. Why? This is the first sentence Jiraiya asks after meeting Orochimaru. Orochimaru's answer, as always, is full of his style. There is no why. If there is, then go find the answer yourself. Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru angrily. He hated it since childhood. Orochimaru's unpredictable attitude. But when Orochimaru wanted to betray the village, he found that he was so reluctant. Orochimaru, have you forgotten the days when you fought side by side with me and Tsunade? Orochimaru's eyes narrowed slightly, and the narrow vertical eyes flashed with a cold light that did not look like a human being. The life of a human being is too short, and those memories of the past will gradually dissipate with the years. Then indulge in the past. I yearn for the future, longevity, and the mysteries of the universe. I don't understand. Jiraiya trembled. His emotions couldn't be suppressed. I don't understand what you said. I only know that this village was once protected by us, but now you have to leave him. I don't understand, but I must take you back today. Hehe, stupid as always. Let me see what you have learned in Mount Myoboku over the years. Orochimaru shot out brazenly and showed no mercy. Jiraiya's quick hand seal with both hands and skilled Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu stood in the way of Orochimaru's departure. Gong Yi hid in the dark interestingly, watching this scene. He would like to know, Sannin in this period, who is stronger and who is weaker, Orochimaru and Jiraiya, who grew up together and fought side by side. Orochimaru's familiarity with Jiraiya is very high. All kinds of ninjutsu releases are just right, completely disrupting Jiraiya's fighting rhythm. After just watching it for a while, Gong Yi can't help shaking his head. No wonder Orochimaru is the head of Sannin. In terms of strength, Sannin is actually almost the same. But Orochimaru's fighting intelligence is much higher, and all kinds of ninjutsu are at your fingertips. In the short battle time just now, Orochimaru used 4 different types of ninjutsu in succession, which also took into account demonic illusion and Orochimaru's own snake ninjutsu. It can be said that if there is no way for Jiraiya to defeat Orochimaru. As for Jiraiya's fighting intelligence, Gong Yi doesn't think it is very high, which can be seen from the later Jiraiya battle against Pain. He obviously has a very strong hole card that can wipe out Pain. But because he didn't know how to hide his trump cards, he only killed 3 or 4 34 Pain and ended up dead. Bang! Another violent collision, and Jiraiya was knocked upside down and flew out. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Jiraiya hand sealed with both hands, he was about to enter the state of a frog fairy. However, the corner of his eyes changed, and Orochimaru slammed with his palm. Jiraiya responded hastily, but Orochimaru's hand suddenly changed. A long sword suddenly stabbed out, directly cutting Jiraiya's hands. Volley kicked Jiraiya away, and Orochimaru, holding a long sword, walked slowly to his side. Imperfect sage art, dare to use it in battle. Jiraiya, you are still that stupid. Jiraiya smiled bitterly, yeah, I used to have you and Tsunade by my side, and let me calmly enter the frog fairy state, but I forgot about that. Orochimaru, holding the Kusanagi sword, glanced hesitantly at Jiraiya. Forget it, a waste, not worth killing me. He was about to leave, but Jiraiya shouted from behind, I am a waste, I once rescued you and fought alongside you. Are they all fake? Orochimaru looked back and picked up his long sword. Konoha ninja forehead on his head flew off. Kai, the long sword crossed, and a horizontal stripe was born on the forehead. From now on, you and I will no longer have any fetters. No, if you don't kill me today, I will definitely bring you back to the village in the future. Hearing Jiraiya's roar, Orochimaru drifted away slightly sadly. Behind him, the village of Konoha is also getting more and more blurred. Orochimaru was walking in the deserted jungle and stopped suddenly. Still follow me. A black-robed figure suddenly appeared behind Orochimaru. Orochimaru turned around, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he slowly licked his lips. You are also here to kill my knife. Chapter 171. Short of money. Gong Yi looked at the embarrassed Orochimaru and estimated how much strength he had left. Orochimaru won the battle against Jiraiya, but the loss of strength should be huge. He is in his prime now, plus the chakra stored in the Yin Seal, and the Kekkei Genkei Golden Escape. If you do it, you have a good chance of killing Orochimaru. But after thinking about it, Gong Yi gave up the idea. No, I'm here to see you. Gong Yi chuckled, after all, he was my superior and taught me a lot of ninjutsu knowledge. When you leave, if no one is sincere to show you off, wouldn't it be too sad? Orochimaru looked at Gong Yi seriously, judging the truth of his words. After a while, he nodded to Gong Yi. This is the end, if there is a chance in the future, we will see you again. Gong Yi waved his hand, if you have anything to do with me, just use the psychic snake to contact me. Watching Orochimaru leave, Gong Yi stood there thinking for a long time. Maybe one day, Orochimaru will still come back to destroy the wood, 077, as in the original plot. Yi, I have had enough of this feeling of hiding my head and shrinking my face. He is looking forward to killing those who are hindered by the sword of Orochimaru. Now I am no longer the weapon of others, but I can try to master the weapon. So today, let's start by borrowing a knife to kill. The corner of Gong Yi's mouth. Qing Yang turned around and went back to the village. Orochimaru's defection has a great impact on the village. After all, he is the proud disciple of the 3 generations of Hokage. He is known as one of the existences of Sannin. He also made great contributions in World War II. In the early days of World War III, he led the army to defeat the hero of Sunagakure village. Many people are afraid of Orochimaru's gloomy personality, but in fact, they have regarded him as the heir of Hokage. But on such a day, he defected. He was doing human experiments, and he extended the scope of human experiments to the village. Especially on the day of the hunt for Orochimaru, the ninjas in the village were also searching several of his laboratories. In the end, a group of children were brought out, a group of children only a few years old. The beliefs of countless people have collapsed. Orochimaru, who they thought would be the next Hokage, was secretly such a person. In this case, Jiraiya, one of the Sannin, left the village. He left, he said that he would bring back Orochimaru. During the war, the 3 generations of Hokage caused many people's dissatisfaction. The Orochimaru incident also caused Sarutobi Hiruzen to be infamous for covering up his disciples because he didn't know who he was. Now even a strong man like Jiraiya has left the village. For a while, the 3rd generation of Hokage was old, and the discussion about the need to choose the 4th generation of Hokage suddenly grew louder. Gong Yi was walking on the streets of the village. With his current spiritual power, he was all within sight within a radius of several hundred meters. Some were so close, he could even hear what the villagers were saying. And villagers discussing suitable candidates for the 4th generation of Hokage. Among them, Tsunade's voice is the highest, followed by Namikaze Minato, who has made great contributions to the village countless times, and occasionally Gong Yi will hear someone say his name. Just listening to the regretful tone of those people's words, Gong Yi knows that they don't care about themselves. Mainly because he is too young. This year's Gong Yi is only 12. Although the height is no different from that of an adult, it can be placed there. When Gong Yi's iconic black robe passed by, some villagers greeted him respectfully. Gong Yi also responded with a smile. So-called fame, that is, just a little bit. Now that he is 12 years old, some people dare to propose that he be a Hokage. If it accumulates for a few more years, the voice of this proposal will be even louder. Suddenly, Gong Yi's ears moved. Humph, let me go. Anko, my brother disappeared not long ago, it must be your teacher Orochimaru. So what are you trying to stop me? It's not just his brother. My uncle also disappeared while performing the village security mission. I'm afraid this matter can't be delayed by your teacher. Mitarashi Anko was surrounded by a group of people with an ugly face, no matter what. She walked there, someone stopped her. The little girl is about to cry now. She has only graduated less than a year ago, and because of Orochimaru's protection, she hasn't gone out to perform many missions. Of the heart is not so strong. But she bit her lip, forcing herself not to cry. Crying is confessing. These people will only bully her even more. Just when she was dazed and scared, a hand was silently placed on her head, but it was unusually warm. Master Gong Yi. Master Gong Yi. Looking at the group of genin who respectfully saluted him, Gong Yi shook his head and smiled. Orochimaru has nothing to do with Anko. Looking at Anko, who bit her lip stubbornly, Gong Yi rubbed her head. Like you, she graduated from the ninja school not long ago, and with her strength, she couldn't participate in Orochimaru's experiment. Don't be around, don't bother Anko in the future. She's a member of the village, please treat her as a companion. After speaking, Gong Yi waved his hand and left. Other genin looked at Anko and then at Gong Yi, feeling a little ashamed. But no one is willing to say sorry to Anko, just slowly disperse. Mitarashi Anko stood there, suddenly bowing his head. That had been suppressed before flowed out. Thank you, Lord Gong Yi. Gong Yi sighed. How similar Anko's scene is to the future Naruto. He could actually use his prestige to drink those genin. But he didn't. Anyway, those genin also experienced bereavement, and there was nothing terribly wrong about them themselves. A few words of gentle explanation. Anko will be better off in the village in the future. At most, no one is willing to contact her, but they will not bully her again. Home, Gong Yi placed some of the materials he bought. As Danzo found those children and realized Gong Yi's sincerity, the two began to work together. Gong Yi's stalled Hashirama cell fusion work can also continue. But as the fusion progress gradually increased, Gong Yi didn't had to discover a fact. I'm actually short of money. Yes, that's right. Gong Yi, who executed many dangerous characters, died for the village, even ended the war against Sunagakur, and the war against Iwagakure, was short of money. This is a very sad and very real thing. This situation is that too much material is consumed for culturing cells. If Hashirama cells themselves want to spread and divide, they need to absorb a large amount of culture medium with extremely high nutritional value. This culture medium is completely piled up by precious medicinal materials. Moreover, the terrestrial cells are not low-level. For each fusion of Hashirama cells, 10 terrestrial cells are needed, and the price of culturing the terrestrial cells is even more expensive. Ye know, have to admit it. Really hard to do experiments on your own. No wonder Orochimaru wanted to set up Otogakure village. He wanted to conduct experimental research, and he was short of money. Gong Yi spared the head too. 8. He is hesitating whether to get some materials for the next time he cooperates with Danzo. Directly asking for funds is definitely not acceptable. Danzo's financial income also comes from Konoha. The village, if there is a large amount of money whose whereabouts are unknown, even Danzo will not be able to explain it. 3 generations of Hokage can suppress Danzo, as that strength is one part, power is another part, and financial resources are also one of the keys. As for the material, Gong Yi thought for a while, he could only shake his head. Danzo will supply his necessary Hashirama cells, as well as some consumables. But if it's more, Danzo will notice his other actions. In this way, the small loses the big. It seems that I have to find a way to make money. Oh, I don't seem to have seen a few people who crossed into the Hokage and worried about money. Just when Gong Yi was distressed, the door of his house was knocked open. Gong Yi frowned. A gust of fragrant wind came, mixed with a strong smell of wine. Gong Yi, drink with me. Chapter 172. The Fourth Generation. Bottle after bottle, I don't know how many. How much wine Tsunade brought, Gong Yi doesn't know, but he knows, he's really confused. This body, because it is underage, has not been tempered by alcohol at all. Last time I drank with Orochimaru, it was only a small taste. This time, Tsunade was serious. Not only did she drink it by herself, but she also took Gong Yi to drink with her. Dare you treat underage children like this? Gong Yi smiled wryly, but also wiped the liquor from Tsunade's clothes with emotion. Tsunade didn't feel anything, his delicate and mature face was full of pain. Why would Orochimaru do something like that? He's not that kind of person. How much do you know about him? Jiraiya left without calling me, and he left. He said he was going to bring Orochimaru back. With Orochimaru's character, can either of the two survive? Orochimaru is expected to return, but will return with the idea of destroying Konoha and proving himself. The teacher is in a difficult situation now, the major families are attacking, and the commoner ninjas don't support him anymore. Have they forgotten who brought Konoha to such power? People only look at the road under their feet, what happened in the past, and who cares about Tsunade drinking in a daze and talking in a daze? That were suppressed in the bottom of my heart. In a state of drunkenness, the bamboo tube poured beans and said it. It's your fault, it's all your fault. If you didn't disappear on the battlefield, Gong Yi, I wouldn't have stayed to find you. If I didn't go to you and I was in the village, I could leave Orochimaru with Jiraiya. Even if he made mistakes, he also made deeds for the village. The village will not kill him. Gong Yi smiled wryly. Blame me, blame me. Teacher, don't drink it. If you drink it again, there will be an accident. Tsunade pushed away his dissuasive hand and drank to himself. Boom. Another bottle of wine. Tsunade burped and continued staggeringly. As if you want to suppress the words in your heart for a lifetime, say them all. I just got back to the village when I heard the news, before I could react. A group of people came to me and asked if I wanted to be a Hokage. I am him. Teacher, it's not right to swear, especially girls can't swear. Hee, what's so good about Hokage? How many people died for that position? My 2 grandfathers died in that position. My teacher, who worked hard all his life in that position, ended up being infamous. Dan also died, and Naoki, who wanted to be Hokage, also died. Gong Yi, you don't want to be a Hokage, do you? Wait, Gong Yi replied, she shook her head quickly. No, no, Hokage is nothing good, I will never be Hokage. Which village's Hokage is afraid of blood? Gong Yi, you know, when I was on the battlefield, I smelled blood and I wanted to vomit. How can someone like me be Hokage? ... She's drunk, really drunk. Gong Yi pushed Tsunade's hand on the bottle and gently picked her up, ready to let her rest. Just put Tsunade on his bed. Tsunade snorted and wrapped his neck around him. Gong Yi, don't go. I only have you left, they are all gone, don't you? Feeling the majestic giant peek under me, the delicate touch, and the sound of strong exhalation coming from my ears. Gong Yi is angry, since you don't treat me when you drink, now, I have to prove that I am really not a child. Bowing his head, Gong Yi sternly refrained from touching Ruan's lips, and pulled up. With his hand speed, Tsunade quickly turned into a big Aries. There are no two words, the gun, out of the dragon into the abyss. Ah. ... Some things are very strange, things that you would never think about. After you have experienced it once, you will always revisit it again and again. Aside from the 5 fingerprints on his face, Gong Yi's experience that night was wonderful. After that night, when I woke up, Tsunade was gone. When Gong Yi searched for her in the village, it took several days to find her. He didn't know until Gong Yi came to Hokage's office. Tsunade is gone. She left a letter and gone. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, only feeling physically and mentally exhausted. His disciples have all left, and now, there is only himself left. Actually, Tsunade wanted to leave the village for a long time, but I never agreed. This time, it's probably a big blow to her. Gong Yi, shrouded in black robes, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was aging beyond appearance. Perhaps these days, the whole Konoha village, the hardest hit, should be the old man in front of him. Gently pushing the envelope forward, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Gong Yi. Tsunade said in the letter when he left. You take over the position of the director of Konoha Hospital, she said, your medical ninjutsu has already surpassed her. And you also have the heart to rebuild the Konoha medical system. Before the war, you also showed penultimate leadership, so. Even if you are still young, after discussing with the 2 advisors, I am still willing to agree with Tsunade's proposal. From now on, you are the director of Konoha Hospital. Gong Yi took the letter and clenched his palm slightly. When Tsunade left, in addition to slapped himself, he paved the way for himself. This woman, the day you took office, and Minato took over as Hokage, was the same day. I hope the 2 of you will cooperate well in the future to make the big tree Konoha lush and leafy. Gong Yi raised his head suddenly. Lord Hokage, you. Huh. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed at himself. I'm getting old, it's long overdue to go down. Go back and get ready. Leaving the Hokage building, Gong Yi felt a little uncomfortable. Of course he won't sympathize with Sarutobi Hiruzen, he just feels that in the face of time, he is stronger than Shinobu, and there is a day when he will serve his old age. Although more than one person has said before, Sarutobi Hiruzen, you are old. This sentence. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen himself never felt old. After the disciples left one after another and the villagers blamed and resented him, he had to admit it. I'm getting old. Who? Gong Yi raised his head and let out a long breath. Maybe Orochimaru is just seeing his teacher, seeing his own teacher, a 10-10 getting old, and seeing his friends disappear one by one, he will go down that road. 10 days later, Konoha's biggest day in years, it's finally here. Under the gaze of Hokage Rock, under the gaze of countless Konoha villagers, the rising sun suddenly jumped out of the fog, and on the huge rooftop of the office building, the 3 generations of Hokage slowly took off their Hokage hat and put it solemnly on Namikaze Minato on the head. Gong Yi, dressed in black robes, stood beside the 2 advisors, and Nara Shikaku was also standing there, and they watched the scene together quietly. Old alternate, the rising sun is born. If all goes well, with Namikaze Minato's talent, Konoha in this period should be prosperous. Gongyi sighed in his heart and spit out a word. Fourth generation. Sarutobi Hiruzen patted Namikaze Minato on the shoulder, encouraging him to come forward. Say a few words. Namikaze Minato stepped forward excitedly, but before he could speak, there were cheers like a tsunami of mountains and tsunamis from below. Namikaze Minato. Minato-sama. Fourth generation Hokage. 4 generations. 4 generations. Fourth generation. I am sorry. I'm very sorry. Yesterday I didn't know if it was the system twitching or the network card of my hotel, which led to the repeated update of a chapter that has been revised, and directly changed the content of the repeated second chapter to the second chapter to be updated today. If you haven't seen it, please refresh it, or clear the cache, or change the browser, and you can see it. It won't cost much. I'm sorry, please download the Chapter 173. Akatsuki. Just as Konoha ushered in their fourth Hokage, Kumogakure village also ushered in their fourth Raikage. After Sarutobi Hiruzen and Onoki signed an armistice agreement, the two villages each led an army of ninjas to retreat. During this process, the third generation Raikage, known as the strongest spear and the strongest shield, with 5,000 Raikage elite troops, attacked the Iwagakure army. However, all of this was taken into account by the wily Onoki. Before the truce, Konoha could expect the small moves of Kurigakure and Kumogakure. How could Onoki not have thought of it? On the way back to the village, Onoki led an army of 8,000 Iwagakure, plus 3,000 troops who came to support from the village, forming a total of 11,000, the army, and powerfully besieged the elite Kumogakure troops. If Onoki succeeds, then Kumogakure will almost be here, destroying nearly half of the military power of the Thunder Country. Is not the strength in numbers, but the strength of these 5,000 troops is completely the elite troops transferred from the Land of Thunder. In order to preserve military strength, 3 generations of Raikage led the team to forcibly break through. After the successful breakout, the 3 generations of Raikage stayed behind and fought 10,000 people with 1 person. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, the 3 generations of Raikage died of exhaustion and was taken away by Jinten particle style by Onoki. The end of the hero will usher in the birth of a hero. Konoha is like this, and so is Kumogakure village. The 4th generation of Raikage who is in power, rectifies the village, and bites Kiba to attack the Iwagakure village. Not only that, he also united the village of Kurigakure, joined forces with the 4th generation of Mizukage Karataki Yagura, and attacked the border of the village of Iwagakure frantically. The Third Ninja War, just like this, gradually reached its peak. From Sunagakure to Konoha, to Kurigakure Iwagakure, and then to Kumogakure village. Among them, countless small countries such as the Kingdom of Rivers, the Kingdom of Rain, the Kingdom of Taki, the Kingdom of Frost, and the Kingdom of Tang have suffered from war. Of war, countless ninjas lost their lives. It can be said that after this battle, the overall strength of the entire ninja world has been reduced by 30%. Of course, when the older generation of powerhouses die or abdicate, more new generations of powerhouses will naturally emerge. Konoha Duo, Group, Sunagakure 4th generation, Karataki Yagura. And Akatsuki who rises from the shadows. Ahem cough. Nagato, are you alright? Conan, I'm fine. It's just that this body now relies on Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, to maintain my vitality. The huge Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, dense black sticks are inserted into the back of a man with yuhi hair. And the glamorous Conan was looking at him worriedly. Nagato moved his gaze to the corpse lying on the ground, and there was a deep sadness in his eyes that could not be resolved. Yahiko. No, you are not dead. I will let you witness the peace of the Rain Country with your own eyes, and let the world feel the pain we endure. Rinnegan turned slowly, and the black stick on Yahiko's body exuded a faint light. In the surprising energy fluctuation, Yahiko actually stood up. And after his eyes opened, Sha, another Rinnegan. At the moment Yahiko stood up, a masked figure appeared mysteriously in front of Nagato, Conan. Haha, Nagato, it seems that you are getting more and more familiar with the right master. Nagato watched warily at the man who called himself Uchiha Madara. Since Yahiko was still alive, he has been approaching several of them. And after he channeled Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, last time, the man was even more generous and told him several ways to use Rinnegan. The art of reincarnation 6 paths. The masked man looked at Nagato's alert state and smiled indifferently. As far as I know, the Kingdom of Fire, the Kingdom of Thunder, the Kingdom of Wind, and the Kingdom of Water have all selected their 4th generation shadows. And the Country of Rain, after the death of Hanzo of the Salamander, was in a state of chaos. Nagato, don't you have any ideas? Nagato said in a low voice, you don't have to worry about this matter, I will naturally rectify the Country of Rain. In your current state, it may be inconvenient to go out. Even with the support of Pain 6 paths, the 6 paths produced have a conspicuous Rinnegan, which is too easy to be detected. Nagato raised his head. What do you mean, Mr. Madara? Masked Man smiled and said, it's very simple, since Akatsuki has inherited Yahiko's will, why don't you make it stronger? Akatsuki was born in the Land of Rain and absorbed a large number of young and promising ninjas in the Land of Rain. Their purpose is to strengthen their own strength, in order to gain the attention of other countries, thus to win peace for the village and the country. But this idea was fully suppressed by Hanzo of the Salamander. Because in Hanzo of the Salamander's view, the Kingdom of Rain has a reason for its existence precisely because of its weakness. Once the Country of Rain grows, it will inevitably attract attacks from the Country of Fire and the Country of Earth. And Hanzo of the Salamander believed that as long as he was there, other countries would not dare to do too much to the Land of Rain. This, Akatsuki's development has always been suppressed, and when Yahiko was in front of him, he was only a second-rate organization. I have a few candidates, you may consider it. Mr. Madara, please speak. Kurigakure village came out with a missing nin named Kisame Hoshigaki, who inherited Tsukazan Fuguki's big sword shark muscle, and is the new ninja sword of 7 people. And this person, it is said that he survived at the hands of the Konoha dark blue demon, and his strength must be very strong. Nagato narrowed his eyes slightly. Kisame Hoshigaki he didn't quite know, but the dark blue demon. If the information is correct, the man in black robe that the 3 of them met last time should be the dark blue devil. After that, Konoha and Hanzo joined forces to destroy Akatsuki and kill Yahiko. This matter should have nothing to do with the dark blue devil. Masked Man continued, there was a top powerhouse in Taki Ninja Village before, named Kokaku-do. Fought with my old rival, Senju Hashirama, and the last time he was seen, he had a fight with Orochimaru. He likes money, but there is no organization behind it. If we recruit him, he will agree. Is there any more? Orochimaru, the betrayal of Konoha, what do you think? Nagato was silent for a while, then said, Konoha, sooner or later I will let them feel my pain. Since Orochimaru betrayed Konoha, he can be our collaborator. There is a guy called a genius puppet master in Sunagakure village, and he can also be absorbed into Akatsuki. The Rain country itself is a chaotic country where ninjas from all over the world are haunted and missing nin hides. The acceptance of missing nin is very high. Almost all of the candidates proposed by the masked man are missing nin from each village. Powerful, but hunted down by the powerful ninja village. For them, Akatsuki's acceptance will undoubtedly be a welcome thing. When the manpower is complete, we can start the tail beast capture plan. Nagato said politely, Mr. Madara, I am sorry to have to work so hard to collect information. Masked Man smiled slightly, no, we are just for the same ideal. Next, I won't disturb you to continue making Pain 6 paths. The void slowly wriggled and twisted, and the masked man disappeared. Conan, who had not spoken until now, looked at Nagato worriedly. Are we really going to work with him? Nagato nodded. His intelligence-gathering ability is what we need. But he is Uchiha Madara. No, it is hard to say whether he is Uchiha Madara or not. Nagato felt the abundant and fresh spiritual power of the masked man, his age. His body. Down at Conan, who was worried, Nagato smiled rarely. Conan, don't worry. Even if he is Uchiha Madara, we have nothing to fear. The power of Rinnegan is above Sharingan, trust me. Conan nodded silently. But in her heart, she was still a little worried. Since Nagato is inconvenient, let me monitor Uchiha Madara's movements. Never let him hurt Nagato. Outside Konoha village, the leader of the palace. On this day, a guest came uninvited. Covered in black robes, Gong Yi looked at the increasingly calm man in front of him with interest. Fugaku, it's been a long time since I saw you. Chapter 174. Robbery, Killing. Uchiha Fugaku looked at Gong Yi with a calm expression. This man who defeated him in an instant, his mood was by no means as calm as it seemed on the surface, but extremely complicated. It was on that day that he realized that the so-called Uchiha glory was not worth mentioning in the eyes of others. Same way, it was on that day that he let go of his past pride, and became a man in the world, cautious, and his character tended to be calm. Or satisfied with his growth, the elders in the clan, after deliberation, let him officially take over the position of Uchiha clan chief. Loss and gain are all thanks to the man in front of me. Fugaku tilted his head slightly. It's been a long time. Gong Yi waved his hand and motioned for Fugaku to sit beside him. I came to the door in person today. If you have anything, please tell me directly. Fugaku hesitated, and finally decided to speak. Our promise. Hee. Gong Yi looked at him with a half-smile. The third condition, I have never seen it. The third condition, the Sharingan of 1-on-3 Tomo. How could Fugaku do it? Even the content of this condition, he never told his clan. If it wasn't for Gong Yi now becoming the director of the Konoha hospital, his status would instantly become higher. Sensing that the gap between the Uchiha clan and him is shrinking. Fugaku won't be here in person today either. He was worried, if one day, Gong Yi's status and power became higher, would he still abide by the agreement with Uchiha? Seeing Uchiha Fugaku's embarrassed look, Gong Yi suddenly laughed. Well, it's not impossible to tell you Mangekyo Sharingan's eye-opening method in advance. But in exchange for the advance notice, you have to pay something extra. Fugaku frowned tightly. You don't want to take an inch. Then get the 3 Tomo Sharingan first, or we won't talk about it. Fugaku took a deep breath. You said it. Sometimes, being controlled by others is just so uncomfortable. But over the years, the Uchiha people have become accustomed to this kind of discomfort. Konoha's suppression of them is no weaker than Gong Yi's attitude today. Gong Yi pursed his lips and smiled. Actually, you can definitely afford the extra cost. I have a list of medicinal materials here. You can take it back and give me 100 copies. In addition, 50 million taels were added to my account. Finished, he blinked. The Uchiha family has been passed down from Sengoku to the present day, and the family is rich. With such a small amount of things, they should be able to get it. Fugaku took this list, and the number 50 million taels echoed in number 2 middle school. He lowered his head, his body trembling slightly. Such a huge price, even the wealthy Uchiha, will be extremely difficult. But only for a moment, he said calmly, yes. Gong Yi smacked his lips, wondering if he said less. But come to think of it, people can't be greedy after all. The materials that I need next are actually so many, and they just happen to be within the range of the Uchiha family. Okay, it's better to hit the sun instead of choosing a day. I'll tell you the so-called eye-opening method. Fugaku, who was still a little angry before, was stunned when he heard that Gong Yi was about to sue him now. Today. Do you want to procrastinate any longer? No, just a little surprised. Gong Yi looked at him, with deep eyes under the black hat. Don't be surprised by my generosity. I just believe in your character. In addition, I believe in my own strength. Implication is that if you get the method, you won't send what I want in the future. Then I might as well show you my strength. As for Gong Yi's strength, few people in the Konoha village now doubt it. That's a brilliant record, even with the 4 generations of Hokage in Konoha village, and called the existence of the 2 heroes of Konoha. Second, Fugaku didn't hesitate to put his ear to Gong Yi's face. Mangekyo Sharingan, SI opening method. Kill your best friend, if not, then your parents, lovers, or your children. Bang! Uchiha Fugaku hurried backwards, tripped over the wooden table, and fell to the ground. In his eyes, it was unbelievable. A look of confidence. Gong Yi stood up slowly and looked at him condescendingly. Don't doubt whether it's true or false. In my capacity, there is no need to deceive you. I want to come to your best friends, relatives, etc. They are not weak, they should drive 3 tomo. If you kill him, successfully open Mangekyo. Then their eyes can also be used to complete the 3rd condition. Gong Yi tossed his sleeves and entered the house. Uchiha Fugaku collapsed there in dismay. Why? Is this how Mangekyo really opens up? No, Gong Yi must be lying to me. He is a demon, trying to lure me to kill. Suddenly, Fugaku covered his face with his hands. He thought of an unbelievable fact. The Uchiha clan has a powerful Mangekyo, but why doesn't this method of opening eyes pass down? If you really need to kill your friends, relatives, lovers, and even children, then the Uchiha clan will inevitably be in chaos, killing endlessly, and the clan will decrease crazily. In order to avoid this situation, the ancestors banned Mangekyo's opening method from being known. His eyeball, Fugaku walked towards the house in despair, ignoring others who greeted him on the way. Is it worth it for these eyes? Gong Yi stopped what he was doing and smiled suddenly. He only told Fugaku the easiest and most practical way to open eyes, but did not explain the principle. What mental stimuli, what negative emotions, and what will cause blindness the more you use it. The sequelae, he didn't explain at all. Think Fugaku will be a smart person, he will not talk about this method. With Fugaku's qualifications, there is indeed a chance to open Mangekyo. He will try it himself first. I just don't know which person will die in his hands. Don't put his mind on Uchiha Itachi. Gong Yi was taken aback. Fugaku's favorite is Itachi and Sasuke. Now that Sasuke is not born, if he kills Itachi, who is now 4 years old, it will be a big joke. Gong Yi shook his head. According to the strong inertia of the plot, such an accident should not happen. But at this time, Gong Yi no longer has the nature to continue experimenting. Returning to the upper bedroom, he seemed to still be able to feel the fragrance on the bed, and he went to the living room irritably. A look at the mission situation. The Yuhi color mission logo is still flashing slightly. Is what confuses Gong Yi. The Battle of Shinwukunchao, which clearly marked the end of the 3 world wars, has already happened. Why does this mission still exist? Could it be that the Third Ninja War has not ended in a real sense, but Konoha is already at peace? Or, the 3-way war between Kurigakure, Kumogakure, and Sunagakure villages that is currently underway is also included in the 3-way war? Zanne, seriously explain, there is a repeat of a chapter this morning. It's not a scam, it's just that the hotel's network is too poor. After clicking upload, there was no successful prompt, so I clicked again, so that happened. It has been modified, refresh it, and you can see that the brothers who spent money before do not need to spend money again. My friend's wedding has been completed, and I will start coding tomorrow, and it will make a comeback if it explodes. This paragraph, otherwise block the collection of IP. Chapter 175. Reconstruction of the medical system. Gong Yi is not sure whether the 3 wars are truly over. Because in the original book itself, there is no explanation for this battle, where it ends. But for Konoha, at least peace has come. 2 consecutive battles and several tens of thousands of ninja wars have dealt a huge blow to Konoha's strength. Now the village is in a state of abysmal waste. Namikaze Minato is young and strong, and as soon as he is Jonin, he starts to clean up this mess. 3rd generation Sarutobi Hiruzen, for his superior position, also specially provided several candidates for him to be promoted and used to assist him. Gong Yi is one of them. Originally, Gong Yi's appearance was damaged, so he was not suitable to be the director of Konoha Hospital, and even less suitable to be the person in charge of rebuilding the medical system. But because of Tsunade's letter, he has come this far. In addition, Nara Shikaku is also the beneficiary of this political reshuffle. He became a very important advisor to the 4th generation of Hokage. Help him with official business, and with Hokage, the advisor, handle the affairs of the village, big and small. In addition, the Yamanaka clan, the Akamichi clan, who befriended him, also began to join the circle of Konoha's power center. Even the Hyuga clan are actively moving around, placing their staff in various important departments. Speaking, the Uchiha clan were even more miserable. The first war against Sarawak, Uchiha Chinfang did not get much credit. The second war against the Rocks and Sands, although the Uchiha clan also sent a lot of people, most of them stayed in Konoha for vigilance and protection. There is no seat for the Uchiha family at the Power Cake Feast after the Division War. But what is strange is that Uchiha, who has always been arrogant. It's been quiet a lot lately. Even some clansmen walking outside is not as often as they used to cause trouble. Gong Yi guessed that perhaps Uchiha Fugaku, who had begun to restrain the clan, was about to start his own Mangekyo. Once Mangekyo is successfully activated, the Uchiha family will have a cage-level powerhouse, even more difficult to deal with than the cage-level powerhouse. Its status in Konoha will rise in an instant, and no one dares to despise it again. Gong Yi is also busy now, and has no time to pay attention to Uchiha's current situation. He spent a few days first, completely taking over the forces left by Tsunade. In this process, Eri Sakurai, who has a good relationship with him, helped a lot. Just a pity for Gong Yi that Shizune is gone. It seems that after Tsunade left, Shizune also ran out. But Shizune is not there. Gong Yi also has Aburame Kaiway that can be used. Sorting out the affairs of Konoha Hospital, Gong Yi plans to rebuild the medical system next. At this time, the 500 medical ninjas he had trained on the battlefield came in handy. But before that, he has to meet Hokage. Hokage office. Gong Yi is here. Namikaze Minato stood up, very enthusiastic. Nara Shikaku looked at him helplessly. Lord Hokage, please. Namikaze Minato had no choice but to sit down, swiped. I'm not happy to meet Gong Yi. Gong Yi watched this scene with a smile, and I have to say, he really enjoyed getting in touch with Namikaze Minato. This man exudes an air of trustworthiness from the inside out. He became the 4th generation of Hokage, not only because of the accumulation of a lot of credit, but also for the reasons. Compared with Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is already old and unreliable, Namikaze Minato, who gives a great sense of security, is undoubtedly a better choice. Just thinking about these things, Gong Yi just inevitably thinks about the thing that will explode soon. Gong Yi felt a little heavy. Was not alone in the heavy heart. Nara Shikaku said softly, from the Orochimaru laboratory, we not only rescued many adult ninjas, but also more than 50 children who were experimented with. This group of children, the situation is not very good now. Gong Yi, we plan to arrange them in Konoha Hospital, what do you think? Gong Yi thought for a while, then said solemnly, yes, I will personally keep an eye on these children and try my best to keep them alive. Namikaze Minato scratched his head, and he was much less happy when he saw Gong Yi before. The evil that Orochimaru has done is truly shocking. A few people chatted for a while. Gung Yi got down to business. You're going to rebuild the medical ninja system? Namikaze Minato wondered. Gung Yi hummed. Yes, several wars and various dangerous missions have caused us to die too many of our comrades. It would be a lot better if there were medical ninjas around. So I'm going to restart what Tsunade-sensei did during World War II and try to equip every mission team with medical ninjas. Nara Shikaku frowned. This is a big project. It can't be done in a short time. Namikaze Minato smiled. It may not be effective for a while, but we are all still young, and it will definitely take a few years, or 10 years, to make something come. I fully support Gung Yi's decision. In Minato's original team, there was a medical ninja like Nohara Rin. Their squads, in turn, often follow Namikaze Minato on extremely dangerous missions. In the process, it was inevitable to be injured again, but Rin Nohara provided more than one help. He knows very well how perfect it is to have a medical ninja in a 4-person team of 4. Nara Shikaku pondered deeply and had to admit that the 4 generations thought a long way. This kind of thing is a good thing, that the merit is in the present and the benefit is in the future. As long as the system is established, the beneficiaries will be the children of the next generation. Gung Yi pointed out. Actually, I have trained 500 medical ninjas on the battlefield. It is difficult to say it is difficult, and simple to say it is simple. Seeing that the two were confused, Gung Yi explained a few words. Not that every squad needs an advanced medical ninja like me. All they may need is a temporary return to mobility after an injury. Who knows, simple healing techniques and hemostasis techniques can do this. And learning this kind of ninjutsu doesn't take too much time. So, it is only necessary to establish such a system. Each graduate ninja team will send one person to Konoha Hospital to learn related medical ninjutsu. Gung Yi spoke in an orderly manner. Has his own judgment on this matter. If one day, every member of the team will have a medical ninja who walked out of the Konoha Hospital. Under their subtle influence, Gung Yi's fame will continue to accumulate. Until one day, when Gung Yi didn't even need to come forward, when something big happened, the villagers would naturally think of themselves. And it's not difficult to do this kind of thing, he just needs to make good use of the team he has laid before. He doesn't have to come forward, someone will help him do this kind of thing. And, this proposal was supported and agreed by 4 generations of Hokage Namikaze Minato. After talking about this, Minato specially invited Gung Yi to be a guest at his house. Not long ago, Minato was married to Uzumaki Kushina, and Kushina soon became pregnant. Well, the diagnosis of pregnancy was still done by Hilly, Gung Yi only found out later. Gung Yi agreed. Leaving Hokage's office, Gung Yi subconsciously stopped. His eyes fell on the man wearing the animal mask beside him. Kakashi. Well, does Director Gung Yi have any orders? Men do not deny their identities. Gung Yi smiled. It's okay, just make sure. You are Minato's Anbu guard now, and I dare not tell you to do things. After saying that, he walked away. Just remembering Kakashi's low and indifferent personality, Gung Yi sighed inwardly. The former Minato team, Kakashi became depressed, Obito went extreme, and Nohara Rin, who he rescued, was still in a coma. It's really good fortune to get people. Phailu reminds you. Chapter 176. Sage Art. Good fortune makes people, and time waits for no one. Blink of an eye, 3 months passed. During this time, Gung Yi basically took full control of Konoha Hospital, and the medical system was also continuously restored under his impetus. And, Dean Gung Yi. This title is also being accepted by more and more people. Even though Gung Yi is shrouded in black robes every day, no one will disrespect him. Occasionally, someone would invite him to their home as a guest. Like Minato's house and Nara Shikaku's side, they've already been invited. On this day, Gung Yi, who had just finished work, was stopped by an acquaintance before he left the hospital building. "Come to my house for a meal." Looking at Hyuga Hazashi, Gong Yi can't stop laughing. "Let's go, I'm also worried about what to do with dinner." As the two walked, they chatted about things in the village. Actually, this is not the first time this has happened. With Gong Yi Chang, 3220s, for the 4th generation. That Shadow trusts, and other families are trying to befriend him. The Hyuga family is particularly eager. Arrived at Hyuga Hazashi's house, before Gong Yi had time to sit down, someone ran in. "Elder Hazashi, madam, she is giving birth." Hyuga Hazashi's eyes lit up and his heart was overjoyed, but the next clan's words made him worry. The medical ninjas in the family have all gone out on missions, and the mother-in-law who delivered the delivery doesn't know where to go. How can this be done? Seeing Hyuga Hazashi's anxious appearance, Gong Yi stood up. "I'll come." "Dean Gong Yi, you. Don't worry, I have done this kind of thing in the hospital several times." No one would doubt Gong Yi's medical skills. Since he said so, Hyuga Hazashi hurriedly invited him to the backyard. When Gong Yi entered, he waited anxiously outside. With a loud cry, Hyuga Hazashi shook his fist excitedly and rushed in. Looking at Gong Yi who was wiping the baby's body, Hyuga Hazashi approached and looked at his child carefully. "It's a son." Gong Yi moved the baby gently into Hazashi's arms. Looking at that baby, he somehow remembered Hyuga Chizong. Hyuga Hazashi held his son at a loss, until his wife spoke weakly, and he sent him over. "It was my first time to hold a baby, and I didn't know how to hold it. For fear of using too much strength, it will hurt him." Hyuga Hazashi rubbed his hands awkwardly, but his expression was very excited. Gong Yi wiped his hands. "Did you have a name?" "Neji." Hyuga Hazashi said happily. "I have already thought about his name before. The man's name is Neji, and the woman's name is Ningyi. Rather be quiet, the first is the main, the second is." From the name, he already wanted his child to be an assistant in peace and quiet. Gong Yi felt a little down, and he didn't know what this child would be like when he grew up. Neji in the original plot, who resents the fate she was born with, but has to obey. The happy day of having a child, when it is a family reunion, Gong Yi will, do'n't bother. Hyuga Hazashi personally escorted him away and invited him to Neji's 100-day feast. Standing in the laboratory, next to Nohara Rin immersed in nutrient solution, Gong Yi sat comfortably in his own experiments. Other words, it was not an experiment, but the medicinal materials sent by Uchiha were used to prepare the culture medium, and by the way, to cultivate more earth grievance cells. As for Hashirama cells, he already had a lot more on hand. And his cell fusion progress, with the passage of time, has gradually reached more than 20%, and will soon break through the threshold of 30%. Just doing it, Gong Yi just stopped his hand and looked at Nohara Rin next to him, stunned for not knowing what he was thinking. After a long while, he muttered to himself in a low voice. "Neji is born, Naruto, who is younger than him, is coming soon. When Naruto is born, will Obito arrive like the original plot? With my strength, I'm not afraid of Obito, but can I really save Minato?" Gong Yi is not sure, and I am not sure. Even if there is a 1 in 10,000 error, the plot will continue to repeat itself. Just like Nohara Rin, he was obviously rescued by him, and it seemed that the plot did not repeat itself. But Nohara Rin's current appearance is no different from dead. Uchiha Obito's time and space ninjutsu is very strange. Even Namikaze Minato, the first time he encountered it, was at a disadvantage. Later, Minato defeated it with his rich combat experience. Gong Yi self-confessed that he didn't know much about time-space ninjutsu, and he couldn't do it even if he stopped Obito. Once Obito takes control of Kyuubi, Nine Tails, with the power of the tailed beast, Gong Yi is hard to contend with. Kneading the test tube in his hand, Gong Yi made a decision. What, you're going out for a while? Namikaze Minato asked in surprise, and Nara Shikaku, who was beside him, was also a little surprised. Gong Yi nodded. That hospital job. I've already arranged everything, and there will be no trouble with Hilly. As for the previous batch of children, I also tried my best, and now only one survives, which is a fortune among misfortunes. The two of Minato looked at each other. Sakurai Eri and the others know, they have long since become Jonin, and they are considered to be very powerful medical ninjas. And I have worked in the hospital for many years. When Tsunade was there, I didn't take care of things very much, and she was mostly in charge. As for those children, as Gong Yi said, there is one, even if it is a lucky one. Namikaze Minato asked curiously, what are you going to do? Gong Yi thought about it and said softly, I'm going to study sage art. Sage art. Namikaze Minato's face changed slightly. I have also practiced sage art. This is not very easy to practice, if it fails. The result of the failure, he did not say, but Gong Yi was very clear. But Gong Yi also has his own reasons. Tsunade, Sensei, Jiraiya-sama have mentioned to me the related issues of practicing sage art. I have also checked a lot of information these days, and I have a certain degree of certainty that I can succeed. Nara Shikaku said, what is sage art? Namikaze Minato explained it to him immediately, and after listening, Nara Shikaku supported Gong Yi's decision. Go. He said solemnly. Now in the village, when Sanin leaves, there are only 4 and 3 generations left. 6 top powerhouses. If Gong Yi really learns sage art, then the village will be more powerful. We should support this kind of thing. Namikaze Minato thought about it and no longer objected. But they basically didn't ask where Gong Yi would go to learn sage art. Subconsciously, they thought that Gong Yi had inherited Tsunade's psychic arts, and if they wanted to go, it would definitely be Shikatsu Forest. Gong Yi also didn't explain that his relationship with Orochimaru was less exposed. After leaving the Hokage office, Gong Yi didn't set off directly. He found Danzo. Danzo was standing in front of the steps of the root headquarters, looking at Gong Yi with a bad face. You asked for more Hashirama cells than the servings given to Orochimaru before. And until now, you haven't come up with any research results. I'm already thinking about whether to stop this cooperative relationship with you. Chapter 177. Raichi Cave White Snake Immortal, Second More. Take it. Gong Yi raised his hand, and a research report flew over. Danzo stretched out his hand to take it, looking at him suspiciously. The research results you want. You can try it out and see how it works. However, I remind you that you must strictly follow the proportions of my formula, otherwise the Hashirama cells are out of control, and it is not my responsibility. Danzo opened it without thinking and looked. He'd also seen Orochimaru's results on Hashirama cells before, so it seemed, the acceptance was high. Obviously, Gong Yi's research results are completely different from Orochimaru's previous ones. What is taken is to configure inhibitory agents to comprehensively reduce the characteristics of Hashirama cells, thereby achieving the effect of passive fusion. If the formula ratio of the inhibitory potion is reduced, then the consequences. Danzo's face was gloomy, and then he nodded. The quantity you want, I agree, and it will be delivered to your house tonight. Gong Yi chuckled and turned to leave. In this way, when he travels far, he will not fall behind the progress of Hashirama cell fusion. The moist mist filled the sky and the earth, and all the buildings and trees in the Konoha village were covered with a layer of white sand. The breeze was blowing, like a mazukage, and the mist began to flow. Robed figure pushed through the fog and walked out unhurriedly. Looking back at the quiet village, Gong Yi counted the time. There are still 5 months before Naruto was born, enough for me to finish sage art. Gong Yi took a step and left the village firmly. According to the guidance of the psychic snake, and his own mental power that was about to break through 100, he roughly knew where Raichi Cave was. As long as he kept walking, he would find that place sooner or later. Method of rushing directly to Raichi Cave through reverse spiritism, Gong Yi could not use it. Strictly speaking, spiritism is also a kind of time-space ninjutsu. Of the blood contract that the qualification requirements for time and space talents are saved. When the psychic technique is performed, the caster makes a call, and then the psychic beast uses the special time and space ninjutsu to be summoned. But reverse spiritism is different. This is equivalent to that the caster himself uses the blood contract to cast time-space ninjutsu to rush past. The gap between the two is completely different. Along the way, Gong Yi's speed is always uniform, neither too fast nor too slow. Through Jiraiya's explanation, Gong Yi learned a lot. Based on the judgment of the original work, he probably understood that the practice of sage art is actually related to the peace of mind. When Naruto was impetuous in the early days, he couldn't feel the natural energy at all, and he couldn't settle down. When his state of mind became peace, tranquility, he gradually entered the state of being in harmony with nature. Therefore, when Gong Yi was on his way, he was actually adjusting his mentality. Over the years, Gong Yi has been working hard to become stronger. Even when he was resting at night, he mostly practiced divine arts. It can be said that there was no slack at all. This also caused his spirit to be tense all the time, and his mentality was in a state of impatience. Usually it didn't show up, but it was because of his restraint that he suppressed this impatience. If you still practice sage art with this mentality of quick success, you will be sure whether you will succeed or not. Takes this uncertainty completely. Go all the way, travel all the way, and occasionally help some people on the journey. In this situation, his mentality gradually tends to, and even the bottleneck of divine refinement has faint signs of breaking through. Gong Yi knew, he was right. A month later, Gong Yi came to a village. Standing outside the village, Gong Yi was silent for a long time. Some villagers in the village saw him and were on guard. Gong Yi's eyes fell on the bodies of these people. Most of them are large sackcloth robes, unlike ninjas, who wear simple and concise combat clothes. Faintly, Gong Yi had a guess. This should be the Changwu family. Because it is close to Raichi Cave, the natural power leaks out, and the natural power in the environment is too strong, and even passively absorbed into the body of ordinary people. However, because there is no master's correct natural force absorption and fusion method, people of this family often cannot control their bodies and mutate. Putting on a large linen robe is to cope with the explosive clothes. This situation. Gong Yi didn't plan to go in and look around, and under the watchful eyes of the villagers, he walked sideways around the village. He seeks his perfect sage art, not this kind of incomplete sage body, even if it is Jiraiya's level sage art, he will not see it. Now that the Changwu clan who escaped from the world has been found, then Raichi Cave is not far away. Soon, in a mountain range shrouded in vines, Gong Yi stopped. Necromancy. A giant purple snake appeared beside him at great speed. Gong Yi jumped on top of its head and pointed lightly, "Lead the way." Hissing, the snake let her spit, and the huge body began to squeeze into the vine mountain. 2 hours have passed. Just when Gong Yi frowned, was he looking for the wrong place? His eyes flashed. Again, they had already entered a huge cave. There are 7 to 88 ravines, all of which are traces of snake animals that have crawled. Looks right. Gong Yi nodded, ignoring the terrifying deep snake eyes in the cave, and walked straight in one direction. In his huge perception, he faintly discovered that there was a terrifying energy source in that direction. If he guessed correctly, that energy source should be the ancestor of Raichi Cave. That is to say, from the Kagaya era, it has survived to this day and has lived for at least 1,000 years. Respected by the world as the White Snake Immortal. "Hey, you're here." A white giant snake slowly crawled out of the cave. Its huge green vertical pupils stared at Gong Yi maliciously, and the snake let her subconsciously licked it. Gong Yi frowned. This was not the terrifying source of energy he had sensed. Moreover, he didn't like the bad intentions that the snake showed. The white snake immortal is waiting for you inside. Come with me 320. The snake's belly pressed down on the flat rock, leaving wet traces, and Gong Yi slowly followed. After walking like this for 10 minutes, the sky was cold, and in the dim darkness, Gong Yi finally saw the so-called white snake immortal. A huge throne with a large white snake even bigger than the previous one coiled on it. Can't even say big, but should say fat. Orange hair and yellow eyes, a green opal on the chest, and a purple ribbon as a forehead. There is a military green horn-shaped ornament on the front of the forehead, a 1 Yuhi color night pearl on the top of the head, a pipe in the mouth, and the body is very long. If Gong Yi was asked to comment on this shape, he would only say, "This is a bit it's like imitating Dragon Ball, who loves jewelry, and he's so nerdy that he doesn't want to leave his seat." You are here. Gong Yi nodded. I'm here. In my prediction, there was a young man who arrived at Raichi Cave step by step, not far away. The immortals of the 3 holy places have this kind of ability to predict the future. Gong Yi was curious, what happened later? Later, he brought destruction to this world. Gong Yi grinned. I'm a pacifist. A mortal white snake opened her vertical pupils inadvertently, looked at Gong Yi for a while, and then slowly said, "Destruction heralds a new life. Destruction, new life, no peace. I want to learn sage art. Shinkiba, take him there." In the dark and pitch-black cave, the white snake immortal hissed and returned to peace again. Chapter 178. White Snake Shinkiba and 10,000 Snakes. What's your name? Oh, I thought you knew my name. White Snake turned around, and the indifferent snake pupil was somewhat mocking. Why do I know your name, human? You're stupid. Gong Yi smiled. The white snake immortal heralded my arrival before, and I signed a blood contract on the psychic scroll of the snake clan before. It doesn't make sense. You won't know my name. White Snake Shinkiba sneered. I don't care about these. I just want to know, when will you fail to practice sage art? Gong Yi paused slightly, his eyes narrowed slightly. You seem to be looking forward to my failure. White Snake Shinkiba moved his body subconsciously. This human being gave him a feeling of extreme danger. Thinking that this is Raichi Cave, the subconscious timid disappeared and became again, fearless. It spit out a snake letter and sneered. Of course I expect it, because if you fail, I can eat you. I haven't eaten a human in a long time. Gong Yi stood there silently, thoughtful. No wonder that there has never been any news that the snake sage art failed to train, even Jiraiya didn't know about it. It was so. Fail, you will be eaten, but that's not right. Orochimaru also practiced sage art in the future, and although he failed, he didn't die. This again produced contradictory results. Gong Yi suddenly asked, do you know Wanshi? Hiss. White swung his tail sharply and slapped against the hard cave wall. Don't mention it. Gong Yi generally understands the reason why Orochimaru failed to practice but didn't die. Of the sub-clan of the snake clan that is specially channeled by others. Therefore, most of the snakes summoned by Gong Yi, Orochimaru and others are purple, which is very similar to the color of the snakes. The strength of one snake is extremely powerful, still higher than the slugs summoned by Tsunade, Toad Wentai, Toad Jien, and Tsunade. But besides that, there is one more thing. That is, one snake has a very high degree of humanization, and will make deals with the human beings who channel him. In the original book, every time Orochimaru summons him, he must give it 100 humans as Matsuri items. If Orochimaru first made a deal with Wanshi when he was cultivating sage art, and asked Wanshi to save his life when he failed, and not let the white snake in front of him swallow it. Well, the strength of Wanshi is definitely in front of him. On top of the white snake Shinkiba. But in this way, Raichi Cave is not a holy place of neutrality and peace, but a holy place represented by chaos and evil. If he fails, then the white snake Shinkiba in front of him will never let him go. Human, do you want to practice sage art? Exclamation mark quote. Yes, of course. Then come with me, don't linger here. Gong Yi pursed his lips and continued to follow Shinkiba. One man and one snake have walked for a long time, and when the light comes, the destination has arrived. This is a huge forest, the air is moist and the ground is damp. In the forest, some colorful snakes can be seen everywhere. Only those with a certain size and strength are allowed to enter the Raichi cave. The little snakes in their infancy and growing up can only stay in this huge hidden forest. The appearance of the white snake Shinkiba made the entire forest agitated, and the densely packed little snakes quickly fled from here. Shinkiba hissed and shook his head in disdain. Okay, here it is. The natural energy in Raichi cave is too strong and not suitable for your initial practice. It's more appropriate here. Gong Yi nodded, then looked at the white snake in front of him. He just watched quietly, not saying a word. White Snake was annoyed by what he saw. What are you looking at? Gong Yi laughed dumbly. The White Snake Immortal asked you to take me to practice sage art, so you won't give me any hints. Or, if you plan, let me figure it out for myself, and then die, so that you can eat my corpse. Gong Yi asked this question, not without reason. Mount Myoboku has toad oil that can assist in cultivation, and the Changwu family has an enzyme that is subtly produced in the body. Orochimaru can use this enzyme to copy the copycat version of the curse. Could it be that there is nothing in Raichi Cave? Shinkiba glanced at Raichi Cave behind him in fear when he heard Gong Yi's words. Then he turned his head irritably, his side slowly shrank, and after a while, he turned into a little white snake. It's just that its two kiba have become extraordinarily sharp, and even glittering with a faint blue light. Take off your clothes. Gong Yi smiled, and with a swish, he dropped the black robe on a tree beside him. Unbuttoning the buttons on the clothes, soon, a body with fair skin and a uniform skeleton appeared in front of him. Especially that face, it was too beautiful to be too seductive. Hiss. Shinkiba twisted his body and asked inexplicably, although I'm just a snake, I also know a little about human aesthetics. A face like yours should be very popular in the human world. Why are you hiding under a black robe? Gong Yi touched his face. This question is a long story and can't be explained for a while. Namely, Gong Yi found that he seemed a little used to hiding in the dark. He thought of Danzo, the man who hid in the shadows. Danzo should also have countless opportunities to stand in the sun. He may have become accustomed to the darkness, and every time, he has given up opportunities. When he felt that he could bathe in the sun burned his body. Let's get started. Gong Yi doesn't going to answer this question. White Snake Shinkiba hissed, and no longer bothered about this non-issue. With a jump, it snapped at Gong Yi's shoulder. Just when Kiba's teeth just touched, it turned into a golden piece. Ding! Like hitting metal, Shinkiba glared at Gong Yi in shock and anger. What are you doing? Gong Yi frowned, instinctive reaction, but what are you biting me for? Shinkiba said angrily, okay, there is a special poison in the body of our white snake family, and injecting it into the human body can make it initially feel the natural energy. Although the effect is short-lived, most of the time, this is how people practice sage art. Quote. Gong Yi was thoughtful, revealing his smooth shoulders. Come on. Shinkiba glared at him, this time, not so fast, and cautiously climbed onto Gong Yi. Then he bit down hard. From its dark blue pointed kiba, a toxin poured into Gong Yi's body instantly. After releasing the toxin, Shinkiba fell off Gong Yi's body, looking very weak. Hurry up, seize the time to perceive the natural energy free in the heaven and earth, the time is only 10 minutes. No wonder it is very reluctant to help people practice sage art, and even eats the losers every time. This matter, for it, should be a huge burden. Gong Yi nodded at it, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes. Natural energy. To read the Chapter 179. Control Yagura. Natural energy. A completely different existence from physical energy and spiritual energy. It fills the sky and the earth, and it is everywhere and everywhere. But natural energy is also divided into rich and loose. In densely populated places, natural energy is scarce. Zhongling Yusho is a place where natural energy gathers a lot. It is precisely because of this that there are 3 places in the world that gather endless natural energy, namely Mount Myoboku, Shikatsu Forest, and Ryachi Cave. These 3 places, after the 3 immortals settled in, are called the 3 holy places. But the types of natural energy are also different. Soon, Gongyi sensed the difference. A dark, evil energy, magnified by the white snake venom, entrenched around him, as if Gongyi could easily inhale it if he wanted to. But Gongyi doesn't dare. He can perceive the terrifying danger of that energy. Is even full of countless negative wills. If there is nothing to guide, dilute, and fuse it, it will only inhale a certain amount, which will cause people's spirits to lose control. Gongyi suddenly opened his eyes. White Snake Shinkiba blinked his pupils. It's over so soon, it's only for a minute that you feel it. Gongyi nodded silently. White Snake Shinkiba was extremely surprised. How is it possible? It's only 1 minute, you can perceive the natural energy. 3-4. This problem, Gongyi thinks it is caused by his infinitely close to 100 spiritual power. But compared to this, he paid more attention to the kind of natural energy he just felt. Fusing this energy, you can cultivate into sage art. Shinkiba thought for a while, it should be possible, but before this, there was no successful example, so I don't know very well. Gongyi frowned and continued to ask, how is the natural energy of Ryachi Cave different from that of Mount Myoboku and Shikatsu Forest? I haven't been to those 2 places, so I don't know. But, Shinkiba said uncertainly, the White Snake Immortal once said that all natural energy is the same, so after completing sage art, you can also replenish natural energy in other places. However, in the 3 holy lands, because of the existence of the 3 great immortals and ethnic groups, the natural energy gathered is slightly different. Well, I don't know what the specific difference is. Seeing no more, I see ain't ask anything. Gongyi just don't continue to ask, and instead think about this question by himself. In the original work, the sage modes under the 3 sage art are very different. This can be seen from the sage mode appearance of Naruto, Senjuhashirama, and Kabuto. If this difference is caused by the 3 great immortals and ethnic groups, then it is obvious. Who practice frog sage art, because they are in a neutral and peaceful place all the year round, the sage mode they have will be full of masculinity like Naruto and Jiraiya. And the slug sage art cultivated by Senju Hashirama has a strong effect on stimulating his vitality and self-healing power, and has a strong affinity with wood plants. This indeed brings the characteristics of the slug itself. In comparison, the only sage mode looks weird and gloomy. This is similar to the situation at Ryachi Cave. Exactly the same. Gongyi doesn't care what his sage mode is, he said. If he let Ryachi Cave's natural energy enter his body, what consequences would he suffer? If you perceive the natural energy, then I will tell you the main points of practicing sage art, and you can practice it yourself. Human beings use their own chakra to activate ninjutsu, and chakra is obtained by mixing their own body energy and spiritual energy. And sage art chakra is. On this basis, it absorbs natural energy and forms it completely. However, in order to maintain the balance of the 3 types of chakra, 1/3 of each can be activated. If it exceeds 1/3, it will be swallowed by the force of nature, and if it is less than 1/3, sage mode cannot be activated. This is the general principle that Shinkiba told himself. After speaking, Shinkiba got into the jungle. It was probably going to hunt. Gongyi sat there quietly, cross-legged, thought for a moment, and decided to give it a try. After years of experimentation, he knew a truth. Don't try, you won't succeed. May fail if you try, but if you fail too many times, you will surely usher in success. Taking a deep breath, Gong Yi slowly absorbed the natural energy into his body. Then mobilize mental strength, body energy, and slowly merge with it. Just tried for a full day, Gong Yi also failed. White Snake Shinkiba swam back and has recovered most of his body shape. Seeing Gong Yi's frowning face, he sneered, "I told you the principle, you have not succeeded now, and you have not been swallowed by natural energy, which means that the natural energy you absorbed has not reached 1/3. Definitely can't blend Sage Art Chakra." Gong Yi glanced at it and said lightly, "I know. Humph. Cultivation by yourself, go to the jungle to find something to eat when you are hungry, and if you die, I will collect the corpse." Shinkiba swam into Ryachi Cave and didn't seem to care about Gong Yi's sage art practice. Gong Yi watched it leave, but was very hesitant in his heart. He could feel that once he raised the share of natural energy to 1/3, he was likely to be swallowed by natural energy. Consequences, either mental confusion, or the body being flooded with natural energy to burst. This feeling, born for no reason, made Gong Yi convinced. Why the hell is this happening? Just when Gong Yi concentrated on practicing sage art, the war in the outside world suddenly stopped. No one knows why the village of Kurigakure retreated. Once Kurigakure retreated, Kumogakure did not dare to deal with Iwagakure alone. Faced with this situation, the village of Iwagakure closed neatly. After all, in the past few years, Iwagakure village has fought too many wars, and the whole village will be dragged down. Conceivable that in the next 10 years, the village of Iwagakure will fall into a situation of dull development again. All in all, the Third Ninja World War seems to have ended in this strange state. Is it really over? Nagato looked at the masked man in front of him and coughed. "Mr. Madara's demonic illusion is really eye-opening." Masked man laughed. "This time, thanks to the help of the ghost shark, it wouldn't have been so easy to get my demonic illusion in Karataki Yagura." Under Nagato, stood a man with a shark face, with a large knife wrapped in white gauze on his back. Compared to the original, he has a tailed beast and becomes the 4th-generation Mizukage of the three-tailed Jinchuriki column power. This time, the 3 tails are taken away by Gong Yi. Karataki Yagura has no tail beast, and can't resist the attacks of Kisame Hoshigaki, Uchiha Obito, and Heavenly Path Pain. After being defeated, he is directly controlled by Obito's demonic illusion. It was also in this situation that the village of Kurigakure withdrew its troops and even blocked its own village. Akatsuki needs a lot of capital to sustain its ongoing operations. Controlling the 4 generations of Mizukage can not only mobilize some ninjas in Kurigakure village to do things for them, but also obtain funds from the Land of Water. This is Nagato, the masked man, the reason for their action. "I heard that the Mangekyo Sharingan of the Uchiha clan has the ability to control tailed beasts, but unfortunately I didn't see it this time," Conan said by the side. There was no lack of tentativeness in his eyes. Nagato also nodded and said, "If you really want to carry out the tailed beast capture plan and resurrect the 10 tails, then Mr. Madara's Mangekyo is indeed the top priority." Hearing this kind of tempting words, the masked man was slightly silent. A long while, he said faintly, "I will let you see it, just right, there is also a chance in front of us." Chapter 180, Creation and Regeneration. In the damp and cold dense forest, Gong Yi sat cross-legged with many dewdrops condensed on his body. Feeling the indistinct natural energy in his body, Gong Yi's whole body seemed a little gloomy. This has been his countless attempts to absorb natural energy in the past half-month. Even under the control of super mental power, he did not dare to increase it to the amount of 1/3. He had a hunch that once he reached that critical point, he would usher in an unexpected event. It was quiet beside him, and hardly any little snakes dared to approach. Gong Yi took out the dry food he carried with him and thought about the key. Natural energy belongs to the energy body that can be felt, but cannot be presented concretely, and cannot be used for careful experimental research. Gong Yi changed his mind. He looked for connections from people who had successfully cultivated in the past. Needless to say, the Six Paths Fairy, he is called a fairy, and he must also be a sage art. Under this, it should be the two descendants of Indra and Asura. Besides, Senju Hashirama, Jiraiya, Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Naruto. No, there is one more person. Uchiha Madara. Gong Yi's eyes lit up. He ruled out a possibility. Indra does not know sage art. Indra only inherited the spiritual power of the Six Paths Immortal, while Asura inherited the physical energy. To put it another way, Indra inherited the eyes of the immortal, and Asura inherited sage body. The actual form of sage art is sage mode, which is sage body. This is also the case. Senju Hashirama, as the reincarnation of Asura, has perfectly practiced sage art, and Naruto is also the reincarnation of Asura. Perfectly practiced frog sage art. In comparison, Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato learned the imperfect sage art by virtue of their extraordinary talents. As for this person, before practicing sage art, he devoured Orochimaru's body cells and implanted Hashirama cells. In a sense, he also has the attributes of Asura. Uchiha Madara does not use sage art in front of him, but after engulfing Hashirama cells, Senpo sage art Gale style, Storm style light Kiba is released. In other words, the root cause is from the sage body bloodline of Asura's reincarnation. Gong Yi subconsciously touched his body. In him, there are also some Hashirama cells, and they are perfectly fused. Only the overall progress, up to now, has only completed 29%, and it is still a little short, breaking through 30%. If I first consolidate Hashirama cells to a degree of fusion of 30% or more, will I have a chance to become a snake sage art? He thought of this. Gong Yi immediately started to act. Of Hashirama cells is an important part of his daily routine. Recently, he practiced sage art, but it slowed down. From 29% to breaking through 30%, this time will not be too long. Gong Yi can afford it. For this trip, considering the uncertainty of time, he deliberately asked for more Hashirama cells from Danzo. To this end, research results of inhibitory agents have also been paid. Now that I think about it, all the precautions are worth it. 3 months later, Gong Yi's eyes gleamed. He has fused Hashirama cells to more than 30%, not just 30%, to ensure the probability of success. He even took a little more time to fuse it to 35%. For this reason, he has already used up all the cells and cells that he brought with him. If he can't succeed, then he will have to go home and give up sage art. But before that, there is one more thing to do. Gong Yi could feel that the danger of the netherworld was reduced a lot, but it did not disappear completely. Other words, there are still failures in the cultivation of sage art. Intermediate scholar skill, rejuvenation technique. Looking at the system panel, Gong Yi ignored the Yuhi-colored quest that was about to reach the 100th level, and focused all his attention on the first learner skills he obtained and the first to upgrade to the intermediate level. Rejuvenation. It can quickly recover physical fatigue damage, mental overdraft and chakra deficit. Is also a 100% healing effect for internal injuries and traumas of the body. If you want to improve the rejuvenation technique, you can use a large amount of medical skills in the master, or invest 1000 points and 1 academic power, to advance it to an advanced academic super skill create regeneration. Gong Yi's attention remained on the skill description in the back column. Master a lot of medical skills, or 1000 points of 1 learning hegemony, you can upgrade it. He already has both of these conditions. No nonsense, Gong Yi directly started to upgrade this skill. With his master's medical skills, he only added more than 100 points of learning hegemony to upgrade it successfully. Of Shueba's skill column, there is an extra white skill. And the previous rejuvenation technique has not disappeared. Creation and regeneration. One thought is still alive, and regeneration is the beginning. Cooldown, 10 years. Breathe. Gong Yi took a long breath. He breathed a sigh of relief and was shocked by the terrifying effect of this advanced scholar's skill. Those simple 8 words were enough to make his heart pound. The thought remains, it can be reborn as the beginning. What does this mean? The death of a person is never judged by the death of the body. It is judged based on brain death. That is to say, even if your whole body collapses, as long as you have one thought, creative regeneration can restore you to the original state. After swallowing, Gong Yi no longer regrets it for 10 years. Cooling time. Such a sky-defying effect, even if it can only be used once, it is enough. This is exactly a chance to be reborn. The ground trembled slightly, and a huge white snake slowly swam over. Shinkiba looked at Gong Yi, who closed his eyes and meditated, with a hint of anger in his indifferent vertical pupils. This guy has been practicing here for 3.5 months. No success, no death, then get out. Ten is here, and the white snake immortal even asks me to come and take care of him from time to time. I really think he is the son of prophecy. ... Just as it was complaining, a cold light shot over. Gong Yi gave Shinkiba a cold look, calmed down, and prepared for the first experiment of chakra fusion with sage art. The huge spiritual force protrudes out, opens the pores of the body, and absorbs a large amount of natural energy into the body. When natural energy enters the body, the cells of the body are continuously squeezed to form body energy. Spiritual power is also gradually transformed into spiritual energy. Each other's share, all are equal. 1/3 natural energy, 1/3 body energy, and 1/3 spiritual energy. Melt. A peculiar milky white chakra, without any attributes, seems to contain any attributes, slowly infiltrating from Gong Yi's body out. Ding! With a light sound, sage art chakra is born. Gong Yi is overjoyed. Success. At the moment of his joy, a strong sense of crisis came crazily. That drop of sage art chakra, like boiling oil, entered a little spark and burned wildly. Blink of an eye, it began to affect the whole body. Silent annihilation. Shinkiba opened his mouth wide, looked at Gong Yi whose body kept dissipating, and murmured in his mouth, "What's going on?" In its life, it has seen countless strong people who failed to practice snake sage art. But most of them are insane, and there are occasional examples of being flooded with natural energy and exploding. But I have never seen such a bizarre situation for Gong Yi. But in the next moment, something that made it even more frightening happened. Gong Yi's body instantly recovered from the state of annihilation. Gudong, the white snake Shinkiba swallowed and blinked. Dazzled yourself.